Welcome back, friends of Style Esports, to the Season 14 Grand Finals of the Shurima division. This is our top division in Style Esports, and I have the pleasure of casting this best of five alongside All Out Potato. This is a rematch of the semifinal match this evening between Chaotic Solar and Asian Invasion. These two have shown they are the top two teams in this division, and now it's going to be some time for some grand finals, League of Legends.
Yeah, it's been a long time coming throughout the season, but these are the teams that have made it here to the top, Chaotic Solar and Asian Invasion. So we are hopefully going to have the pleasure of watching some great League of Legends today. And already bans coming out, some familiar reoccurrences from their semifinals match. Anivia taken out against Chaotic Solar, no surprise. That is by far the most played champion for their mid laner. That's a Toad. Great name, by the way.
Yeah, that is a Toad, but it will not be an Anivia. So lots of ban lanes or bans going toward this mid lane pool. It looks like Potato from both sides here. Anivia, Cassio, Tristana is a flex, Silas. I mean, so much pressure into Hong Kong player, and that's a Toad. We'll have to see Chaotic Solar with the one pick Wukong. That's a champion that Wolshur Garvin has been picking up a couple of times the last time these teams matched up, but it is going to be Chaotic Solar's jungler opting to one pick that. And now Asian Invasion got their run of the junglers to match here. We'll have to see how this draft develops.
Yeah, and Wukong has been one of those priority junglers lately, just very powerful all around the map in team fights, can engage well, can duel well, and it does look like it's going to be the Vi as a pickup and Zeri right alongside it. So not going to allow the Vi into the Zeri and taking one of the best ADCs out there currently.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. This is a champion we've seen presence all the way through, it feels like, Potato. I mean, she did get hard nerfed there for a moment, but once again, back into the meta. And typically, the only thing Zeri's scared of is actually going into a Vi. And so, with Asian Invasion being able to pick their counter jungler, knowing that Chaotic Solar's not picking Vi, it means that Zeri's happy just to throw those little Zapparinos out and do lots of damage. And, hey, I'm liking what they have. And Chaotic Solar here looks like they're going to be going for a hyper carry late game themselves, Potato. I'm not seeing anything too early game focused quite yet. Both these bot laners still looking to scale.
Yeah, looking to scale, but no great surprise here. Jinx is one of those classic answers into Zeri currently. Two of the ADCs that we've just seen a lot of action from, both in Pro League and Amateur. Cassante, another pickup, a potential mid-top flex maybe here,
Yeah.
coming out, and a really strong champion as well.
You're absolutely right. I mean, a strong champion has some flex potential. We have seen it going mid into certain matchups. So when you have the unstoppable, like there's so many options for it. You still have damage, you have some range, good farming, and primarily you have great pickoff, right? Like you have great ways to pull somebody over the wall with the all out, and you have just like a tanky damage dealing. What else could you kind of ask for in that position? So this is going to be a Shen match and giving more support for the Zeri. Both these teams not picking a support yet, so expect to see a lot of supports now hitting the bans in the second half of bans for both these teams. We'll have to see. I mean, Thresh is one of the premier supports I'm not seeing taken away quite yet.
Yeah, Thresh is up there, Lulu is up there, so plenty of options still for both of these teams. And so far, yeah, it does seem like it is going to be fairly bot-centric in terms of their playstyle for both sides, but we'll see how they end up rounding out this draft.
Yeah, I mean, and we've seen supports, Nostalgia Lee as well as Pika Pika both played the Rel in the last best of three that these teams played in the semifinals. So we see that I was banned early on here. Other support champions we saw in that series was a Nautilus support, a Tarek paired with the Jinx, and that was actually for Asian Invasion side. We've also seen Karma and Aphelios and Thresh Seraphine bot, right? So we lots of different combinations between here. I do expect enchanters to really enable these hyper carries that both these teams have locked in here, because you got some brawly, beefy frontline boys so far built up in both the Shen, the Vi, Wukong, and Cassante. Some key picks there, but mid laners also hitting the ban table. I wouldn't be surprised to see something like Lulu just locked in on R4 for Asian Invasion.
Yeah, that seems like the most synergistic pick. And it's also interesting because in their prior matchup, all three games, Asian Invasion did ban away the Rakan from the Chaotic Solar players. But now that the ADC is locked in, it's not Zaya perhaps that is going down in priority. But yeah, I'm expecting something along the lines of a Lulu Thresh here. And yeah, Lulu is going to get locked in immediately for
Yeah.
Asian Invasion.
And like you mentioned, maybe the response is just going to be Thresh now for Chaotic Solar. You mentioned Rakan is still an option that was actually banned away quite a bit the last time. The last time these teams matched up, could also be an approach for them. I mean, basically, what you're saying for both these teams is you want to establish your battle lines, have the classic front line brawling it out, and then have your hyper carries try to be the ones carrying the fight. And just like we predicted, Potato. I mean, Lulu Thresh, these are going to be the two supports locked in. Just kind of felt like a handshake there for the bot lane, providing some great synergy for both of these hyper carries.
Yeah, and it does seem like it plays to both players' strengths as well. Thresh is a champion that the supports on both teams are fairly proficient at, has put in a decent amount of games this season. Lulu also a champion that's been played a lot by the Asian Invasion support. So I think both players will be comfortable on their picks and they work well with the bot lane pairings. And Vigar, now another mid lane pick that has seen a lot of presence lately, offering significant amounts of zone control and that one tap potential.
Yeah. And you're right about the zone control too, and that's only been exemplified by some recent buffs Vigar has been getting on some of the range advantage. That does mean there's a counter pick in the mid lane as a choice here, and I wouldn't be surprised to see this here. I mean, these are some premier late game scaling mages, but instead, Hong Kong opting for a Kennen mid. This was something we've seen actually a couple days ago on Victorious. They pulled it out. Had not a great early game, but the slighting maelstroms later on were absolutely nasty from this player. So, I mean, I'm taking a look at a Hong Kong player and seeing what they can do here on the Cannon, but very interesting mid pick into Vigar.
Yeah, and the ASO certainly has been a powerful champion lately, but if they had gone that direction, I might have been worried about Asia Invasion indexing and scaling a little bit too hard. You kind of have scaling slash weak lanes and kind of all three lanes across the map, and maybe Vi would have had a little bit more difficulty playing around that. So Kennen potentially will also give them a way to link up the mid jungle and make some moves early on in the
And
game.
it also gives them more AoE, right? As I look at some of these players so far and some of the champions locked in for Asian Invasion, you have some great single target lockdown with the Vi cease and desist. You have, you can multi-man the Shen taunt as well, but I mean, Kennen provides so much AoE, which is something that I think Chaotic Solar indexed heavily into, seeing things like Thresh Box, the Vigar Cage, you have Wukong Cyclone, like feels like even the Jinx rockets provide more AoE than Zeri necessarily does unless she can really chain together the lightning. So I think it is just really amplifying the team fight potential. Asian Invasion is a team that we know can win through team fights. So something to really exemplify that with a Kennen as a last pick here. So I mean, yeah, as you said, we'll have to see if that means that they will be able to kind of scale that out into the mid game.
Yeah, absolutely. And also gives a little bit more disruption to the Wukong engage and maybe a bit of catch potential onto this immobile Jinx. So, all good things here for both teams. Looks like both sides have come out with a pretty competitive draft. I mean, we're seeing a lot of champions that these players are good with and a
Mm-hmm.
lot of champions that have been really strong in this current meta. So, do you think either one side or the other has got the advantage in draft coming out in this first game?
As I look at what's going to happen early on, I think that's really going to determine the team that has the advantage going into the mid game. And I think ultimately Chaotic Solar has drafted more options for early game potential. When I see things like Vigar Cage, like Thresh Hooks, even like the knockback from Cassante here when they charge up that Q, it does feel like there's just more gank potential, maybe more setup here onto players of Asian Invasion. So I like what Chaotic has drafted. I think just the crowd control that they've provided here is actually favoring them early on. But I mean, as we scale in this late game, we have a Lulu Zeri. And like this is one of the most scary late game pairings that continues to dominate at all levels of play. So there's still a world where we just see the Asian Invasion squad absolutely shred through later on in this match with all the protection from Shen Ultimate, from Lulu as well. I mean, I'm giving the early game to Chaotic Solar, but I think Asian Invasion could definitely win it later on with that Enchanter.
Yeah, certainly fair. I mean, Zeri's one of those champions that becomes terrifying at level 6 and only gets scarier from there. So, yeah, we'll see how both of these teams end up matching up. Both sides have finished locking in their champions for draft. So, we're just going to be waiting out a bit of spectator delay here on the client and hope to catch you on the other side soon.
We are on to the Rift for game number one of this best of five grand finals between Asian Invasion and Chaotic Solar. It is a rematch of the semifinals. These two teams took us to all three games a couple weeks ago, and now they are back on the Rift. We'll have to see if Asian Invasion will get the better of Chaotic Solar 2 series in a row, or if Chaotic Solar will be our Shurima Division champions. Early on in the series, we will have to see how it starts out. But so far, level one, not too much exciting happening beyond all 10 players and a 5 point on both sides.
Yeah, not too much indeed. And yeah, Asian Invasion taking that previous series 2-1, so fairly close and fairly competitive, and did have to come back in a couple of those games as well. So we'll see if Chaotic Solar will be able to bring something a little bit different today and close out some of these games, find the victories that they need. As we get started here, do we have ideas? I mean, it looks like currently both junglers planning to path top to bot here, making sense from kind of two very well scaling carries here in the bottom lane.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, I think that is pretty wise to index some resources down there, especially when you have someone like Shen top lane here, right? Ohami is probably not going to be wanting to do too much. Goat's trying to maybe suss out where Crow and Nostalgia are, but will not be finding too much information now. So I just think really you want to try to get your hyper carry ahead, as that could definitely be a win condition for your squad. Goach has not been a player that's been known to get early advantages in lane, and so maybe Absar is going to try to abuse that and get Jinx to a really critical item point for Crow to be able to take over that game. But I mean, we'll kind of have to see here if that's going to be the case. Already some heavy poke onto the bot laners.
Yeah, absolutely. Chaotic Sorrel bot lane trading very efficiently here in these first few levels, starting to burn through these health potions already with a nice bit of aggression by Thresh. And it looks like both junglers are making their way to the bot side clear as well, so might end up seeing some more action down there shortly. And it looks like already Ignite going down to Pika Pika, being forced to run away with the heal expended as well. And that's going to make Washer Garvin come here towards the bot lane right away. There's Goach with the slide and glide across the wall. Ghost expended on both characters actually. Nostalgically does a flash, the Vi engage, gets a good hook, but is going to go down. First blood going over to Washer Garvin, but Absar is here as well. Washer Garvin steps on the Jinx traps, and that's going to give the kill over to C9 Crow. And now the Crow is excited, also picks up Pika Pika, and now it's Goach unable to finish up Absar. This could be a triple kill over to Jinx already, but no, Goach with so much damage here, and it does. It's the red buff burn going down 2-for-2 trade right out of the gate to start off the series.
4 kills in 3 minutes, Potato. This is the kind of series I want to see. Already battling back and forth. You named it from level one. Both junglers immediately taking the fastest 3 camps possible down to bot lane. But we see Absar actually got the red buff as well. And that is why Wosher Garvin was able to get down there first. Read the flash perfectly on Nostalgia, but still did not land that Q from Vi. But ultimately, it is going to be 2 kills in a Crow's pocket, only 1 for Goach. And I'm kind of liking this already. We're starting to see that pressure into these hyper carries. And right now, more hyper looks like it is going to be Crow picking up that extra kill.
For the moment, but it is also the finished boots for Goach, and having Berserker Greaves this early on Zeri is going to be a big difference maker, one of the most important rushes for that champion. And yeah, we mentioned about junglers padding top to bot here, and in fact, they went top to bot as fast as humanly possible to make that play work out right away.
Yeah, and it made a lot of sense here. And now, as a little bit of dust settles, I expect the action to continue to be down there here on some of these dragon timers. We're going to see that first dragon hitting the rift just about 30 seconds. And ultimately, either team without their jungler is not going to be able to do too much with it. But look at Nostalgia looking in the mid lane, drinking a Hong Kong player.
Yeah, Hong Kong player trapped there by the cage, but that's a Toad out of mana, so Hong Kong player is going to flash under tower to find the finish under pressure of the gank there. Does give the kill back to That's a Toad, nostalgically having the presence of mind not to hit Hong Kong player at all there. So another 1-for-1 trade as the bot laners of Chaotic Solar go and return back to lane.
But this is something that I think Asian Invasion has shown time and time again that they are so adept at is even with this scaling bot lane, once I saw Thresh go mid, Goach and Pika Pika able to shove out the bot lane and they get a tower plate at 5 minutes in. So really great heads up play. They will never just be conceding something for free. It feels like Asian Invasion always has a response. And in this case, it was just going to be, an entire tower plate into Goach's pocket here. And now it looks like a dragon is going to be started up as well. That's a Toad dropping a ward to spot it out. But take a look, they're already going to be on this level 6s for nobody here. This
Yeah,
is
it
a
is
really
going
kind
to
of
be a
spooky
four-man collapse
space.
here. Dragon down to half
Oh,
already.
Hong
Got
Kong
the
player though.
Toad moving off to the side there. Hong Kong Toad does hit level 6, so Sliding Maelstrom is available. It's going to come down to a smite fight here.
Oh,
It is secured by Wusher Garvin. There's the Slicing Maelstrom tearing through the team. Hong Kong player picks up 2, and Nostalgia Lee is going to be the next to fall. That is 3 going down on the side of Chaotic Solar. Dragon secured for Asian Invasion. A big win in this early game.
and the reason why that fight was so successful was because Hong Kong player was patient and waited mid for an extra wave to hit the slicing maelstrom, get level 6, and then Wilshire Garvin was just able to get the better smite off. 600 smite from both people, but that was enough to secure that first Chemtech Dragon. But ultimately, I mean, just better play. It felt like at first I thought Asian Invasion was going to be in trouble and get collapsed on, but ultimately they decided they could not take the fight, and that first level 6 from Kennen was all the difference to give that advantage first dragon and a couple extra kills over to Asian Invasion.
Absolutely, really well played. It did look dicey there at the start. It was looking like a potential 4v3 early on in the fight, but it looked like Chaotic Solar didn't find the window to get the engage started. The dragon survived for long enough for that move. So yeah, really well played by Hong Kong player, knowing to wait for that power spike and come in afterwards.
Yeah, and now with the next objective going to be the Rift Herald spawning at 8 minutes. Lulu is already up here. We'll have to see if that means Pika Pika is going to stay there for even longer, but wants to clear out some vision. Looks like Nostalgia has also moved up to this area, so both marksmen just kind of farming away bot side safely. And I expect Pika Pika to want to stay up here now. Wilshire Garvin also hitting level 6, has a cease and desist, now does spot the ward. Rizwan is safe for now. But I mean, this is just going to be a continuation of this play and advantage that Asian Invasion has created. They're up 2,000 gold and they want to just start the Herald on spawn. They're just standing around in the pit waiting for it to spawn and trying to take any fight that they can. And it might be on to Absar in just a moment.
Yeah, Nostalgia Lee not able to hit the hook, and that's going to be the go button for Wusher Garvin. Absar absorbing that engage with the clone, but Hong Kong player going on to That's a Toad in the mid lane, as the bot lane ADCs are also dueling it out. Just action all over the map. A few more autos in both directions will find the finish, but no, instead, Ghosh and C9 Crow are both going to be pretty low. The Death Rocket finds its mark. A shutdown going over to the Jinx. It is going to be Rift Herald picked up on the top side for a response though, but that was an important pickup for the Chaotic Solar players.
Yeah, crunched like a roach. Goach is down, and that is a pivotal kill for Crow. They're now their third of the game. We knew the Rift Herald was going to go over to Asian Invasion, and so that's just a better setup and staying around longer. But look at this setup now. Ooh, top lane.
Yeah,
Wusher
Garvin
Garvin,
does
okay.
find out Ridwan there backing in his own bush very low after getting traded on very favorably by Ohami. This Shin doing a lot of work here early on. Hasn't needed to invest the ultimate just yet, but doing just fine in the 1v1.
Yeah, doing just fine. You're absolutely right. And ultimately, the objectives, both of these early, have gone over to Asian Invasion. Absar with a great response bot lane after shoving out Pika Pika from this bot side of the jungle is going to be able to take the blue, but maybe now is overstaying.
Yeah, well, Garvin is there. Absar does clone out, and there's the flash. Cease and desist not available. The Thresh Hook is going to go on to Gulch, but it looks like the members of Chaotic Solar are not in position just yet to lend their support. Nostalgia Lee falling very far
Absar?
low now. Absar getting engaged on over the wall and just is going to get evaporated immediately, and the fight is going to continue. Goach with the flash auto, not quite finding the finish onto Nostalgia Lee, but instead it's going to be Crow that's sacrificed to the Crows from the Asian Invasion play.
Wow, and both flashes also pulled from that play. Just feels like wherever Wilshire Garvin is, the kills are landing for them. All of a sudden, another couple of plates. The Herald going to be dropped as well. Dragon in less than a minute. This early game has been all Asian invasion in this first game.
Yeah, an impeccable early game. This is going to be first tower already going down at 10 minutes. That's a lot of gold funneled
Yeah.
over to their players. And it seems like now it's basically wins for them all
Oh,
across the map. Absar is going to try and find Washer Garment on the base, unable to do so. Does interrupt Goach going back, but Goach is just going to run him down with the Zeri ultimate, forcing Absar to flash away there. The summoner spell expended. And now with Dragon coming up in 15, it seems likely that Asian Invasion is going to pick up this second as well.
yeah, really well played. Look at this gold advantage already here, Potato. 4,500 gold at 10 minutes. This is absolutely massive. I mean, we've talked about how the early games go in their way, and the gold tells the tale perfectly here. We see it now in completed items already. The Black Cleaver finish for Garvin. We see the mythic items as well for both Goach and Hong Kong player. I mean, all of these players are getting some key power spikes early on, but that doesn't dissuade Chaotic Solar at all. The second dragon has spawned and 4 members are now there. This feels like an objective that they might want to be contesting, but look how far behind Jinx is. Crow only has a Noon Quiver and Pickaxe. This is not a fight they win if it's just straight up 4v4.
Yeah, behind on their members, and the Stand United is available from Ohami, whereas Teleport not available from Rizwan, so it will be a 4v5 if they decide to contest. They do give it up. The Mountain Dragon is secured, and now potentially looking for a mid play, but Vigar Cage is going to stop the engage.
Yeah, it is going to stop the engage here, and now we will have to see if anything else is going to come from it. But it looks like these members are just going to be able to hang tight here, continue to push this up. And like you said, because the first tower fell so early at 10 minutes, there's still 2 minutes of plate standing here. They got 5 in the bot lane and now another 2 mid. They're just going to continue to try to push the pressure, get more gold in their pockets. Another 3 plates now, but take a look at Absar. Maybe want to make something happen, but only 2 players are there. They cannot engage on the Asian invasion.
Yeah, would be a 2v3 to start things off. The rest of the players now finally getting there.
Oh,
Could this be the engage flash cage from That's a Toad catching out Pika Pika, who's going to fall down? A nice find from the Vigard there to trade back some gold. But look at the bot lane. That's Hong Kong player pushing for free right into the inner bot tower. But now Absar and Garvin fighting over the red buff. Smite Secure does
oh my
go
gosh.
over to Garvin there. Looks like it's going to be the end of the play for now.
Yeah, and that's a Toad. You're right. That was a great pick and look with the cage, but it still cost their flash. And when you're an immobile Vigard here, a flash is a really, really valuable summoner spell to you.
Yeah,
So,
valuable.
we'll have to see.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it's so interesting because in this early game, at first, it did seem like everything was going over pretty evenly. I mean, we saw that 2v2 trade for the bot lane and then a 1-for-1 trade later on. But it has been Asian Invasion just consistently able to squeeze out advantages from the rest of the map, getting the dragon, getting both dragons, getting the herald, getting that
Yeah.
bot tower with full plating. All of that is contributing to the gold lead that we're seeing now.
Yeah, and now you have to decide if you are on the side of Chaotic Solar. Do you fight this third dragon in 3 minutes' time? I mean, we're going to be at 17 minutes in the game and still will likely only have 1 item completed from everyone on Chaotic Solar. And it just feels like you're at a point where you kind of have to give up until the soul, try to farm up and get those items because Wilshire Garvin, so accelerated. Goach, so accelerated. Like, you just don't have the stats to match the items to go with. So it feels like you have to succeed so much. And with the Herald in 15 seconds, this feels like another free objective for Asian Invasion.
Yeah, moving to it already, and it really will have to come down to some individual lockdown pick abilities from the
Oh,
Chaotic Solar members if they're going to turn it around. Garvin is caught out by the Jinx traps here, but not that much damage traded on back. That's a Toad pushing on to the bottom tower, no TP available, so looks like they likely will not have the members to contest the second objective. Herald's going to go down, maybe looking for a play against Goach though, but manages to stay safe on this area.
yeah, stays safe, wanders away, and is no worse for wear. Just like we were thinking here, it is going to be an uncontested second Rift Herald going over to Asian Invasion. Plates have fallen, but the gold lead still stands at 4,500. now with 90 seconds into the Dragon and a lot of gold sitting in these pockets, 1,000 unspent right now for Goach. Feels like another reset coming up here in the next 30 seconds or so and a rotation down the Dragon. And it should just be the entire game. I mean, if you can get that, soul point here, it's going to be really challenging because now you have to fight the soul in 5 minutes, and feels like Chaotic Solar is so far away from being able to contest successfully.
Yeah, it would be incredibly early soul point here at just 15, 16 minutes or so. Maybe Nostalgia Lee looking for a bit of a play in the mid lane, though. Several members still hasn't had the chance to shop just yet either, so we'll see if they manage to get these resets off. If we do look at the standing gold on the bottom four members of the map, though, it is primarily Garvin with the
Yeah.
advantage over Absar, just over 2k actually in an individual lead. The rest of it actually 1k is just down to the support. So Pika Pika did finish out
Oh.
their mythic, but
Ooh.
almost getting caught out there, and it's going to draw the TP in from Rizwan as well, but no play to be found just fast enough to get the move speed. But getting poked down to half HP, this Vygar damage is landing and causing a
Yeah.
bit of harassment. Now with all 5 members here, they want to contest the objective if possible, but Rift Herald is going to get dropped in response. That's going to be the mid tower falling down, potentially going to get a second crash if it's not answered.
So it is going to be answered here, but take a look at Hong Kong player. This player now is down here, has the stand united if Shen wants to join as well, and Death Slicing Maelstrom could spell disaster if all 5 members walk up here. Look at that poke already. Pika Pika in some danger. Fight has not started yet, but Hong Kong player, look for that Kennen ultimate.
Yeah, Garvin a little bit isolated here, potentially going to get caught out. The Vyq is going to get interrupted and gets all out, ulted by the Cassante, but Garvin immediately goes on to Crow, and the Stand United is there as well. Crow and the Nostalgia League going to fall immediately. Rizwan trying to find a trade back onto Hong Kong player will manage to do so, but now it's going to be Absar and Toad, the last 2 members remaining for Chaotic Solar. Ghosh is there ready to run down the rest of the members, gets that last auto attack. That's going to be a 4-for-1 trade, and the soul point going down. That's a Toad still trying to run away from Ohami. The taunt is good, is going to land, but is the chase available? Doesn't look like it. It's going to survive with this last member, but again, a big win for Asian Invasion.
Only the one player, Hong Kong, falling for Asian Invasion. But like you said, it is another big win for them. They dropped the Herald, got the outer tower in the mid lane. Red team also picks up that Dragon. So Asian Invasion on soul point before 18 minutes. I mean, I thought they were just going to give it up because they didn't have the stats. And we saw what happens if they do try to fight it. You named it. Crow got chunked down so quickly. Garvin just sat on their face, and Jinx could do absolutely nothing. Feels like, again, it's a soul point now. The gold lead has expanded just slightly. Baron isn't even on the map yet, and it does feel like already Chaotic Solar is in survival mode in this first game.
Yeah, the Vi Shen combo just absolutely obliterating the bot lane from Chaotic Solar and taking with it any hope of winning that team fight. And now as the players get back onto the map, the goal lead is going to continue to extend. The pressure is going to continue to mount at just 18 minutes yet. It feels like we've been in the game for a while, but it's so early, and Asian Invasion has just had a commanding lead this whole time.
Yeah, and it's hard to know kind of what went wrong early. Like, they drafted the scaling with the Vygar Jinx, and they weren't able to scale successfully early on. I think ultimately it was just Garvin that found the successful plays, was able to keep the pressure, and then better rotations around the map and finding what they needed. But like, it's kind of hard to know. Like, do you just have to play more early game? Because with this double scaling, it feels like it kind of fell apart before it even had really a chance to materialize.
Yeah, I mean, it seemed more like a bunch of small mistakes adding up together. We had Rizwan losing the 1v1 top lane, getting picked off by Garvin, and the Absar with the overstay in the bot jungle, which led to a bot plates going down from the bot lane players
That felt
moving
like such
into
a
the
key
Herald.
piece. Was that Dragon at 10 minutes? Like, that felt so massive to like just exploding the game early on, right? Maybe that's part of for the why the game feels like it's been going on so long, is because that tower dropped at 10 minutes from Goach.
Yeah, and taking with it, that's so much standing gold for that early into the game. So it definitely gave them a commanding lead between all of those plays together. Absar now unable to hold vision for their team. the rest of Asian Invasion slowly pushing forward on the map, moving their vision line up, playing for the soul, coming
Yeah.
up in just under 3 minutes.
Yeah, and you name some of that pressure that does continue, and ultimately it isn't resulting in too much right now. Asian Invasion is being really safe and secure here when they have this massive lead. They don't need to over push into unknown territory here. They don't need to go crazy. Like they're just waiting for the soul because they know this is a place where Chaotic Solar needs to contest them. And because of that, you just kind of farm your waves, continue to maintain your gold lead, and then, in 2 minutes time, you're going to be way stronger and you can just kind of take any team fight you want here. But that's not to say there's not scaling happening on the other side. I take a look at that's a Toad, now 10 stacks of Rod of Ages all completed, getting really close to completing that second item, which is going to be a death cap as well. Like this is still a player that can absolutely one-shot some of these squishy members for Asian Invasion, but I mean, they're just not quite at critical mass yet.
Yeah, not quite yet. And if the death cap does get finished before this soul point contest, that will be absolutely huge for the team. So we'll see if any resources end up getting funneled their way. But looks like instead it's just going to be the Baron started up right away with all 5 members available on the map. They are going to peel off of it for the time being, maybe just looking for a fight instead, enticing them with the objective. But looks like both sides are going to disengage for now.
Yeah, and that's kind of what they wanted to see, is just maybe someone would face check it, or maybe they could sneak it uncontested. But with just under or just over a minute until the dragon, maybe it's just going to be a reset for that space here. It's going to be really hard for Chaotic Solar to go ahead and try to start the Baron or trade for it as well. But that's exactly what they're going to do. 5 members now up here, but it is spotted out. It is warded. Oh, Hammy is here with Hong Kong player. So I mean, yes, 2 members reset. Maybe this is a window, but you don't have damage here. There's no way that Chaotic Solar can get this Baron in time.
No, they wanted to try and find it off the bot lane reset timer from Asian Invasion, but instead they're just going to take a ton of damage from the Baron. There is the ultimate going down to Crow, and there's a slicing Maelstrom to follow, and the entire team is just going to instantly explode. The triple kill coming out for Hong Kong player. This Kennen winning them all the team fights that they need to secure this first game. That's going to be the Baron in 20 seconds. That's going to be the Dragon Soul too.
Yeah, and that's what makes this Kennen so scary as a 5th pick potato. The slicing Maelstrom immediately destroyed all 3 members standing on Chaotic Solar. Yes, the Baron helped out just a little bit with the damage, but ultimately it was that ultimate, that 5v5 potential that they had. And I mean, that was also Wolsher Garvin just going crazy ahead of the team, ulting Crow. And then Hong Kong player was able to just follow with the flash. Like you said, the Baron, the Soul, and likely this first game all going to Asian Invasion side. But I mean, it's an early series here. At this point, you can't be tilting because this one feels all but over. 10,000 gold now separating these 2 teams. Asian Invasion just needs to look to close it out, crack some of those inner towers, crack the base, and hopefully crack the mentals as they move into game 2.
Yeah, and Garvin really has been the catalyst for much of the playmaking on this first game, making Vi look absolutely like a powerhouse that she can be here, setting up the team fights, getting all the ganks around the map, securing the objectives. It's really just had such an impact in this game.
Absolutely. I mean, like, and I haven't even seen Ohami needing to use Stand United really in any of these fights. It doesn't feel like. Feels like Shen is kind of playing their own side lane game here and doesn't really need to join too much because, like you said, there's so many other threats that Asian Invasion has. You mentioned Garvin here, 2 items, now another 1.5 completed here with that Hexdrinker in their inventory. But Goach critically on Infinity Edge, I mean, more than half an item ahead now of Crow. Yeah, and ultimately, when we talk about Garvin, this was a jungle matchup that Chaotic Solar opted into, right? We saw them pick the Wukong as a first pick here and just got absolutely rolled when they gave over the Vi. So, interesting choice to see starting out in the draft phase, and it feels like Garvin has just taken over this matchup here with Baron around their feet and the waves coming in. It looks like they can just take any fight that they want, but a 1-3-1 triple Baron waves coming into the enemy territory, and now Chaotic Solar forced to just hide under those remaining structures.
Yeah, the threat of the push is very real. And if we thought that Hong Kong player was scary before with the Cannon Ultimates, now he's got 2.5 items finished and an Infernal Soul. Looks like they are going to try and find a play onto Ohami after flashing over for the second Cyclone cast. The All Out coming out as well from
Mhm.
Rizwan. So Ohami is going to go down, but it is towers falling across the rest of the map. Bot lane and mid lane inner towers going to go down now. 3 members sieging in here on mid. The waves are, at least for the moment, slightly desynced, so that's going to signal the end of the push for now. But on the next one, you bet they might be looking to crack open the outer towers of the base.
Yeah, and that's good recognition from Chaotic Solar to recognize that when the enemy team is in a 1-3-1, they can't be taking fights anywhere. And so your best bet is to be able to rotate multiple members up to one of those side lane split forces. And in this case, they wanted to get on Ohami because, I mean, with the teleport available, if you and the Stand United, if you try to go into Hong Kong player, Ohami can join. So you just try to pick out that one most vulnerable member in the side lane. I think that was a good execution from Chaotic Solar. As you said, it does kind of stifle this push here. The Baron has now despawned. And now it's at the point where, like, okay, you were able to get the pick. You stopped any of your inhibitors from falling. But like you said, you did lose 2 inner towers. And now it looks like that's a Toad is going to be under threat. But ulted from Garvin, will stop Toad from resetting.
Yeah, trying to TP out, but unable to, and now getting collapsed on by 4 members. That's a Toad is just going to fall dead to rights there in the bottom lane. And with the Vigar gone, that's going to open up the rest of the map. Crow does at least trade back a tower in the mid lane in response, but Ohami is going to teleport to make sure no further ones fall. And now 3 members pushing on towards this bottom lane. Hong Kong player looking to engage onto Ridwan is getting the better of the Cassante for the moment. The all
Oh,
out comes out as well. It is actually a
oh.
close fight, but the Shin ultimate and the auto is going to guarantee that Hong Kong player stays alive. And now it's Crow getting run down by the solo laners, desperately running for their lives, but the taunt lands true and Crow falls down. Absar getting VIQ'd under the tower, but it doesn't matter. They're going to just continue to find kills here. It is actually Garvin going down 900 gold shutdown, going over to
Yeah.
Absar. So some money traded back. The base tower holding just for the moment, but the game state is still dire. We still have both large objectives coming out in a minute and a minute and a half, respectively. This early dragon stacking, putting so much pressure, putting this ticking timer on the game.
And the ticking timer just keeps ticking down lower. I do expect to see Asian Invasion now just take both of these Uber buffs and just walk down the mid lane and end out this game and take the series to 1-0. But I mean, it feels like you kind of got to live on a prayer at this point if you are the side of Chaotic Solar to try to find a miracle way back in. Maybe a super mega death rocket from downtown to snipe a Baron, and then you can catch the jungle, right? But like that's kind of what's needed to make something happen. Granted, an Elder Dragon can completely change the game if it's something Chaotic Solar can claim, but I expect all 5 members just to group up at this Baron, take the Baron on spawn, move down to the Elder Dragon as a group, and if anyone is around there from Chaotic Solar, they're going to get absolutely engaged on here, and that seems to be exactly the play now. They did get the bot inhibitor, so that's another wave pushing for their favor. And just like we were thinking here, I mean, this has to be the do or die moment. We'll see if Absar can get around, but looks like this Baron is going to be dropping way too quickly to contest.
Yeah, going down very fast indeed. So everything is going to come down to this outer contest. We do have Crow managing to finish up the Infinity
Oh,
Edge at least. Mega Death Rocket not quite able to secure the objective. So they're going to try and find a bush trap here. The CC is good to catch out Okami to start, but there is Hong Kong player on the sidelines, immediately taking down
Goach.
Lee, and there comes the rest of the team. Goach getting CC'd briefly by Cassante, but the Zeri is healthy and doing massive amounts of damage. Crow trying to find Garvin, but unable to.
Oh,
Vi ultimate just coming down. Quadra kill, and now that's a Toad going down. It's a pentakill for Goach. It's a game 1 finished out for Asian Invasion. Just a clean game from start to finish. Just a very convincing victory all around.
Just Zeri Things picking up a pentakill in the first game of the season. Name a more iconic duo. First game here of the series, I mean, and like there it goes, the second Nexus tower, and the Nexus right behind. Nostalgia Lee staying in their base where they are safe, and that is going to be the Nexus for Asian Invasion in this first game of best of five.
Yeah, good attempt on the bush trap, but unfortunately, just too many resources expended. The gold lead was too large. There were too many threats on Asian Invasion's team, and Goach was able to just run wild there at the end on the Zeri, picking up the pentakill, picking up the first game. That was a convincing game.
Yeah, it absolutely was. You're exactly right there, Potato. I mean, early game, it did look completely one sided for Asian Invasion. And there were a couple picks from Chaotic, but I mean, with such an early soul, it's so hard to come back into there. And Absar never got rolling. And honestly, Garvin just got so much further ahead than Absar did. A little bit of a jungle gap, I think, in that first game.
Yeah, Garvin really setting up a lot of success for their team. And Crow was the one with the majority of the income on Chaotic Solar's team, but just unable to execute in team fights, getting vi-ulted over and over and over again, just repeatedly one shot, removed, erased from the map before they could make any kind of impact in these fights. So in game two, as we go into draft, we'll see what kinds of adjustments these teams might be making to try and turn things around.
Yeah, and that is what makes game best of five so much fun is because there is so much draft adaptation that can happen between games. And it felt like just matching scale for scale, Asian Invasion got the better of it, right? Chaotic Solar was not able to scale with the Jinx and Vygar like they wanted to, and didn't have the early aggression that I thought they would have with the crowd control. I mean, Absar not able to really get going in that game, and because of that, you get into later on, and you kind of see how oppressive this composition can be. Goach was absolutely untouched, and I mean, as you said, we'll just have to see what kind of adaptations these teams can make in game number two, because Asian Invasion looked unstoppable in that first draft.
For sure. We are going to wait a few moments for players to get back into lobbies and draft links to start getting handed out. So uh, hang on with us for just a moment here, and we'll be right back shortly.
Welcome back to game number 2 of the grand finals of the Shurima division between Asian Invasion and Chaotic Solar. It is game number 2. Asian Invasion came out with a commanding start in this series, wiping up game number 1 in outstanding fashion, and felt like from start to finish they had control of this game. We'll have to see what draft adaptations happen in game number 2, but so far the bands that are hitting the table look identical to what we saw in that first match.
Yeah, and there's no room to breathe for Chaotic Solar's team here. So we do have the sides of being swamped, so Solar will have the benefit of getting a few more counter picks this time around and seeing some more picks before committing. And it looks like it's going to be the players from Solar banning out the Wukong early this time.
Yeah, I mean, I guess they've just decided that it is a pick ban kind of champion, and they don't want to give that B1 to Asian Invasion. That was something that Garvin did play 2 of the 3 games last time these teams matched up. So when they were on blue side, they decided to take it. But now when they're on red side, they say, well, we don't want to give it over first pick. And it is one of those things when you're Chaotic Solar and you can't play the champion as well. You know, it feels a little bit bad if you're Absar because now you're having to ban it away because you can't play it well enough. And I mean, they selected red side, right, as the losing team. So it does feel like they've had to adapt just a little bit, not wanting to give that Monkey King over to the Asian squad. But also, Shen going to get banned out here. So, I mean, Vi, Zeri, both open. You can't pick both of them right away. Picking Vi is typically going to be the safest first pick if that's what you're looking for. Otherwise, maybe they go for something else in game number 2. But I'm kind of feeling like if it ain't broke, you don't need to fix it.
Yeah, and shouldn't while they didn't have the most noticeable playmaking in that previous game, did have a pretty big impact as well. Just winning the top lane 1v1 pretty convincingly and having one of those clutch ultimates to start off the team fight when comboed with Vi. So this time around, at least one half of that puzzle is going to be denied. But it is Garvin snapping up the Vi right away, seeing so much success with it in that first game. And it looks like Xayah getting covered by Solar's bot lane. A great answer to that champion, and
Yeah.
a nice disengage tool from getting pressed ulted over and over.
Yeah, we talked about it here on that brief break there, Potato, but like it felt like Crow was such a magnet for the cease and desist from Vi here. So Crow opting for some more safety here. And something that has been banned away previous times these teams have matched up has been the Rakan, but instead going to be an Annie locked in here. Another champion that we saw getting banned out by Chaotic Solar in the first game. Now they say, we think that champion's pretty good and we want to take it for ourselves. Also holds a flex for the mid and jungle, or mid and support. I don't see jungle any, though. That'd be cool. But I mean, Asian Invasion can also just say we're going to go back to Zeri because we have the Vi. We'll see if that's going to be the choice. I mean, very safe. You could go Zeri Lulu once again. We'll see if they need to shake it up yet.
Yeah, and it's a decent matchup into the
Ooh.
Xayah as well. And oh yeah, Vigar getting picked up here. So Asian Invasion maybe wanting to show him how it's done here on the Vigar mid.
Yeah, I mean, and also an amazing pick into Annie. Annie has so little mobility. I would say no mobility, right? So when you throw down a cage, you can actually outrange all of Annie's damage. And so you kind of just put it up as a block in a force field. You say, hey, Annie, unless you're committing your flash, you can't really get on top of me here. And with a couple of immobile champions picked up, it looks like it is going to be one of those hooks for Asian Invasion support. Pika Pika opting for the Thresh in game number 2.
Yeah, the Blitzcrank hover offering some tantalizing value there, but no, it's ultimately going to go with the more standard support pick here in the Thresh. So still bot lane and top lane open here as options. ADC usually not falling this far down in the pick list, but we'll see if Goach has anything special cooking up for us.
Yeah, we'll have to see what they're in the kitchen preparing here. And Jarvan the Fourth as an interesting lock in here. Typically, you see Thresh as a response to J4 because you just throw the lantern inside the Cataclysm and anyone can click it who's locked in there with J4. So I'm a little bit surprised to see that. But I mean, when we talked about draft adaptations, one of the things we named for Chaotic Solar was needing to have more early game. And Jarvan the Fourth is one of those champions that does so well at ganking early, even level 2. You get the flag, you get the drag, you get in those lanes. And so I do like to see at least this early game presence that Absar now is locking in with J4. However, we'll have to see how the rest of the composition comes together because it feels like Asian Invasion has some good tools to kind of disengage that, looking at the Vigar cage and that Thresh Lantern.
Yeah, it does seem a little bit difficult to gank into those two lanes, but J4, as you mentioned, does provide a lot of early presence. It's also one of Apsar's most successful champions in solo queue, so maybe wanting to turn things around from that previous game by getting more things done on the map. We also have things like the Annie J4 combo later on in team fights that can certainly be very potent, locking people down. You know, there might be a lot of zoning tools, but there's not that many answers into a flash cataclysm other than just flashing away yourself. So
Yeah.
that could be something that we got to keep our eyes out for as the team fights get going.
Yep. In some respect, it looks like being given over to Goach for Asian invasion. They are going to ban the Zeri out. I mean, with the wall ready, you can just kind of jump over the Cataclysm as well. So makes sense. Not a very great champ. That was a scary Zeri in game number one, but still lots of options you can pair with Thresh from the marksman role. You can go something like range, like Caitlyn. You can go more aggressive as well. I mean, as we take a look at some of the champ pool that Goach has, you can even go something like Seraphine. We've seen them pair Seraphine Thresh in the bot lane. It is the most played, but that's why it is actually banned away. We'll have to see. Maybe they look for an AP pick with a Malphite top lane blind. Can we see something like Rumble too? Let's get more AP in here, Potato.
We're gonna get our best licorice impression day here, but yeah, and we're still preserving the Annie flex option here as
Yeah.
well, having the potential to go either mid or bot. So they're going to hold it all the way until R5 to see what kind of matchup is going to be most favorable for them. Sion getting covered here, the absolute meat wall of a top laner on both sides is
Yeah.
going to get locked down.
Yeah, this is going to be like, AOT here. There are big monsters in that. I feel like it is one of those kind of things. We got big numbers here. And now hovering here, this could also be a Vigar bot lane, I guess, if they're going to lock it on Aurelia.
Yeah, we were talking
It
about the
is.
anti-flex all this time, but Asian Invasion does us one better. Goes with the Vigar flex here. Vigar bought something that was explicitly called out in recent patch notes as having found too much success and seeing a few small nerfs here and there. But we'll see if they are able to extend that success
Yeah.
into this game too. And now it's going to all come down to this R5 pick. How are they going to round out the comp? They have a bit of a press R comp right now. And
Mhm.
okay, that's a Gwen lock in response to the Scion.
So now we're seeing, is this Malphite support?
I'm thinking Malphite mid as a good matchup into Aurelia, and then Gwen top as a good matchup into Scion. So to me, it seems like they're prioritizing these solo lane wins.
Yeah.
They have a pretty nice bot lane combo with Zaya, Annie, and the playmaking ability across the map on J4. So definitely a bit of a spicy adaptation here in the last end of the draft, trying to find these lane counters. We'll see if it works out for them.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. Lots of draft adaptations here, some flex picks held to later on. Yeah, and it does feel like both these teams have good understanding of what champions want to do and are able to pick champions that function well into that identity. However, I don't love Asian Invasion's 4-5 with Scion Irelia. It felt like you're kind of forcing the Vigar to go AD now. You don't really have good magic damage DPS into a Malphite. Like it just feels like you're not really solving any of the things that Chaotic Solar has been thrown at you. And honestly, I think Chaotic Solar had better draft adaptation in the second game than Asian Invasion did on the blue side.
Yeah, I was taken a little bit by surprise by their final picks, but it does look potentially promising here. I mean, getting winning lane matchups in both of the solo laners will be very big. And yeah, there is that problem you mentioned of how are they going to get through this Malphite? I mean, Vigar can try, I suppose, but if Malphite starts getting big enough, it's going to be really tough without the
Yeah.
lack of any consistent DPS option. I mean, maybe Aurelia can kind of fill that space a little bit, but you have a lot of tools to kind of keep this Ionian at bay as well. So
Yeah.
we'll have to see how they end up playing it out.
It is going to be interesting too. And once again, I am looking at Goach on the Vigar, on the scaling, on this primary damage threat that Asian Invasion has drafted. If you can get a cage on Zaya and get 100-0 before the feathers can come out, and you can get that ultimate off. I mean, that's going to be the primary damage here. But you still got to be aware of like the Malphite Gwyn frontline with the Jarvan the fourth there as well. Like there are so many tools to just go. Like you mentioned, it was a press R composition with this Annie kind of being solidified now in that support role. So I mean, this is kind of interesting to see here. It feels like Chaotic Solar is so dependent on ultimates in team fights. And Asian Invasion has a little bit more wiggle room on when they want to fight and how they want to fight, having some more mobility and flexibility in their draft choices.
Yeah, but looking at the other side too, we mentioned, J4 might get stopped by a couple of these tools that Asian Invasion have drafted, but what is unstoppable is the Malphite ultimate, and I'm probably expecting Xayah to take Cleanse here as well as the answer into the Vigar Thresh, and take that in combination with the Featherstorm, and it seems like you've solved for most of the threats that Asian Invasion can toss at you. So we'll see if any of that does end up coming to pass, how the players will end up executing on their champions, but either way, it's looking like it'll shape up to be a pretty spicy game too.
And hopefully a pretty spicy series too, Potato. Game one was dominated from Asian Invasion. Now Chaotic Solar with the spicy draft is going to try to tie it up. We are just about 15 seconds away from getting into our spectator delay, and then we will be on to the Rift. So the prediction is live for game number 2. Will Asian Invasion take us to series point, or will Chaotic Solar tie it up one game apiece? You'll have to stick around and find out just on the other side of the spectator delay. We will see y'all in a couple of minutes. And we are on to the Rift. It is game number 2. It is the Season 4 Shurima Division Grand Finals between Asian Invasion and Chaotic Solar. Asian Invasion out to a 1-0 lead in this best of 5 series. And now some big draft adaptations. That's a Toad on the Malphite mid with Rizwan picking up the counter pick Gwyn in the top lane. Some cool adaptations here. We even see a new jungler picked up as well. I mean, both these teams trying out some different stuff here in the second game.
Yeah, and I really like this adaptation, actually. We saw all the success that Garvin had in that first game, and Karak Solar just said, all right, we're going to ban away the Wukong. We still think that that's a power pick, one of the highest priority jungle champions. We're going to let you pick the Vi, and then we're going to pick a bunch of champions that are really good into it. I mean, who is Vi going to ult on this team? Crow will just ult it away. Malphite's not going to care about getting ulted. Rizwan will just be immune because Gwyn champion. Uh so it's seeming like it can be a bit difficult to get things started. And we also have the Asian invasion bot lane getting spotted out here by the
Ooh.
ward from Nostalgia Lee. So they have knowledge that it's going to end up being in this bush. So we'll see if any kind of punish comes
No.
out. It doesn't look like it. So they are going to just retreat from the bush, and looks like all things considered a pretty calm level 1 start.
Yeah, the only thing that's not calm about this here, Potato, is take a look at which players are in the mid lane right now. Rizwan actually read the matchup here. Ohami went mid to try to lane into the Malphite, but Rizwan responded and now is going in the mid lane. So this is the matchups and the lanes that we wanted Chaotic Solar to be choosing here. That's why they picked the Gwyn counter pick into the Scion. They picked the Malphite and then ultimately sent that into the Irelia. So now this is the mini game that I kind of want to see happen: is are these solo lanes going to try to switch back, get favorable lane states? Because Gwyn destroys Scion once they hit level 6 here in this matchup. And then in the top lane as well, Malphite is just going to be totally negating anything the Hong Kong player wants to do on that Irelia. Look at this, level 3 Absar already mid lane.
Yep, calling on to Ohami here, but it's going to be both junglers with the engagement. It's going to be actually Rizwan going down for first blood here. Garvin with a timely counter gank. Absar forced to flash away, so at least it is going to be a 1-for-1 trade, but it is going to be Ohami picking up a few more minions for the Silent Passive before getting sent back to base.
Yep, once again, these junglers meeting early, meeting fierce, and getting kills for their respective teammates early on here. It is going to be 1 kill into Sion's pocket and the return into Absar. It is going to be forced out of their own jungle, though, and Ohani was just able to teleport back down into the mid lane. So they are going to opt to maintain these matchups. But look at the bot lane. Pika in trouble. Nostalgia flashing forward, but not getting a kill.
Flashes traded on both sides there. Pika very close to falling. The Ignite not expended, so that is still a tool that is available. And look at that's a Toad roaming down from top lane to mid, really wanting to shut down this Scion. The Gwyn here snipping away at their HP bar. A nice dodge with the immunity, but it is once again Garvin finding their way over to the mid lane, getting traded on very heavily, and there's the Thresh Lantern. Pika, they're just in time to save their jungler, but now Goch is going to be left in a 1v2 on the bot side. No root coming out will keep them safe for the moment. And will we see a 3-man bot coming out soon? We do have Vi still clearing out the buff, but they are establishing presence on the bot half of the map.
Exactly right. Look at this. 1 gank mid from That's a Toad. 1 gank mid from Absar. And a second gank there now, too. Hong Kong player is happy to not have Malphite in their lane. Is going to be able to get a little bit of a CS lead off of that here. But, I mean, really trying to shut down Ohami now. 2 deaths on that Scion. Maybe they're just playing to try to get to 10 death power spike. Feels like some Scion players like to have. But also as a CS lead. Like, I appreciate the creativity and the early pressure into Rizwan in the mid lane, but Ohami, I don't think is really the main carry here you got to worry about, because Sion's going to be getting big regardless.
Yeah, getting a bit of the bow special here. Having a lot of deaths, but keeping up their CS, and that is so important for keeping that HP scaling going. And yeah, Sion really having the better of Riswan here early on in this mid lane modified top lane matchup. At least for the Gwen immunity coming out, it will be a lot more safety against the Sion Q. So the matchup will hopefully start to get a little bit less dicey here. It is also Abstar looking bot lane here, though. Garvin has already moved over to the top side of the map, so this could potentially be a 2v3. Will we find it? Crow stepping forward now, Hook going out onto Pika Pika, but a nice flay almost sends them into the event horizon. Does end up walking into it, but that's a successful disengage there. The CC from the players of Asian Invasion, enough to stop the gank.
Yeah, an amazing play there from the EQ combo from Absar. Granted, did telegraph that a little bit by hitting the vision cone before coming down and then swept on in as well. Honestly, I'm going to say it's a little bit of a mistake from Absar because that thing could have maybe been more successful if Goach and Pika Pika were not so far back. But now Garvin looking to make a successful play happen topside. Ohamia's ultimate.
Yep, there is the ultimate coming out, but there's the unstoppable force in response, just going to dash their way out of that top lane gank. And it does look like the players have found this reswap in the matchup now. Aurelia getting paired against this Gwen for the moment. First dragon on the map, looks like Abstar might be wanting this, or maybe it'll be a play onto the mid
Oh, but
lane.
level
As they're
6
coming in,
first.
the 3 members, level 6 is there for Rizwan, is not there for Hong Kong player. Hong Kong player trying to run away, but you can't run away from the point and click stun from Annie. Now that's the teleport expended from Ghost to cover this mid lane, but that's likely going to be the dragon going down as their reward.
Yeah, very, very interesting mini game potato in the second game because I mean, we can just take a look at, yes, you're getting the better matchup, but what happened was Rizwan hit level 6 first, and they knew that timer. Chaotic Solar had talked about it, and they got that. I'm not have time to make this point because look at the dragon fight.
Yeah, with lanterning in the players here. Smite is good. It goes over, but there's the Aurelia ultimate and starts dashing and crashing against all the members of Chaotic Solar. Rizwan is trying to trade damage back, but without the ultimate, there's simply not going to be enough resources left in the tank. The dragon is secured, but a double kill is given over in response. Now they're playing for the blue buff contest. Does have still some players around in the area to try and make that happen. Absar is going to get a few hits onto Pika Pika. It is going to be smited away from Garvin, who's just going to dash their way out of there. Hong Kong player maybe moving down to join in as well. But all said and done, the buff is taken and all players get out.
Yeah, the dragon secured as well. This is the first dragon that Chaotic Solar has actually claimed in this series, Potato. So good on them to be able to take that mountain for themselves. But honestly, really great play going back to what happened in the mid lane. Yes, Rizwan was in mid lane and had to go in the Hong Kong player who they did not want to match up into. But the level 6 timer came out first. But now bot lane, Bolshevik Robin's not level 6, but might want to fight.
Oh, there's the level up just in time. They hit it off of one of the minions in lane, dying, and that's going to be the cease and desist. The flash feather pull is not going to be enough to take down Pika Pika, but the auto attack will. The double kill giving over to Garvin there on this Vi. Accelerated once again, 3-0 and 3 on this pick. It is going to be Rift Herald started up on the opposite side of the map in response, but Garvin is sprinting over as fast as possible. Rizwan will get stuck at the tower for a moment, trying to see if they can take the wave. The Rift Herald does go down, and the rest of the members are trying to get out as fast as possible. Does look like they are able to disengage, so a play is traded and found on both sides of the map.
Garvin once again in the early game, 100% kill participation here. An amazing early game once again, finding kills mid, finding the flash top side and forcing the ultimate out of Malphite, and then finding kills bottom. A perfect level 6 timer to get the cease and desist for the second kill. And just another great early game from Garvin on this Vi. You have to wonder when in the series are they going to start banning it away or taking it away, because Garvin just finding the necessary angles. Unstoppable Force is back up and used once again on cooldown. I mean, Garvin, you might not be getting the kills, but you're letting Malphite not have an ultimate this game.
Yeah, and it's going to be a 2v2 here in the mid
Oh,
lane, but
not
Nostalgia
anymore.
Lee there on the side is going to make it a 3v2. The Aurelia ultimate goes out, but there's not enough damage coming out from Hong Kong player. Does get shut down. 450 gold going over to the pockets of Rizwan. And this has been all the attention given to mid from the Chaotic Solar players in this game too, just repeatedly moving members over there time and time again, and they have found some benefits from all of these movements, and now crashing a Herald onto the spot lane, not going to take the entirety of the tower, unlike the first game, but is going to be a nice amount of gold headed over to Crow's pockets. Going to yoink one more auto attack for that
Ooh.
second plate, takes it quite nicely, 175 added to their bank account. And yeah, a much better early game compared to that first game.
Yeah, much better, but also much more interesting, Potato. Yeah, we saw like 8 kills in 6 minutes in the last game, but this game, it's all about the rotations from both teams. Ultimately, Nostalgia Lee has found some great movements on Annie in that mid lane play. I mean, Absar able to find more successful angles as well on the Jarvan. Picking up that early Herald meant some more plates. And as you said, more successful within 100 gold between these two teams and one dragon advantage for Chaotic Solar. We have to see now into the mid game. We know that Asian Invasion is a team that can fight later on and have great positioning in these team fights. So with a minute till the dragon and maybe Pika Pika getting caught out, this might
Yeah,
be
Pika Pika
trouble.
face checking and immediately gets all slammed by all the ultimates. Garvin rooted for just a moment there, trying to run away, does manage to disengage. Dragon coming up in 45, so Pika Pika will be back in time. And that's a lot of really big ultimates expended
Yeah.
from the side of Chaotic Solar. So we'll see if they can still be able to do the dragon contest afterwards with those tools used.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, but still some key ultimates are available. We still have the Unstoppable Force, the teleport available, and that's a Toad if they really want to commit to this. We also see that the Featherstorm will be available for Crow. Garvin might want to get a pick right before the Dragon because one member dead for the spawn might mean it's theirs. But no member's going to die quite yet. Pika Pika trying to reestablish around the Dragon. But like you said, the ultimates that I'm looking at is Summon Tibbers as well as the box, both not going to be available here. That's the supports with their ultimates that they won't be able to use it. And both top laners have teleport available if they do want to 5v5 this, but instead, this can be a 4v3 until Ohami can get here without the ultimate. We'll only have their own unstoppable onslaught to get there. So we'll have to see how this fight goes because this is going to be crucial for how this game is going to move into the 15-minute mark.
Yeah, Ohami, no teleport either, so just has to walk on over, but does have the flank from the top side there, and there comes the Scion. The Dragon is going to get secured by Crow, actually. Both junglers going to fall very quickly early on in this fight. Crow now under pressure from Ohami and gets hit with the top from Pika Pika, but a nice feather pull is going to make Pika Pika fall down as well. Hong Kong player is moving on down. The teleport is going to get committed from That's a Toad as well, but looks like both sides are likely to disengage. No, Ohami
No,
still
look at
stuck
the
in
look at the
Doge's
Malphite ult.
for just a moment, but yeah, there's That's a Toad on the side, flashed away from Gulch, but a follow flash from
Ooh.
That's a Toad, and there is the movement speed from the Malphite. Aurelia there with the counter ult, but just gets a big bear, a fiery ball of death dropped on their face. Scion trying to cue their way out of this one, and does look like they will be able to do so. An explosive fight over this second dragon, but overall advantage going to Chaotic Solar.
Yeah, and that's the big piece that I'm taking away from that skirmish here, Potato, is the second dragon now claimed for Chaotic Solar here. Back-to-back secures. It was a little dicey. It was not clean. Crow ended up taking the last bit of health from the dragon, but ultimately that does mean that they are stacked at 2 drakes total now. Kills going back and forth, and now some key items being completed and the teleport committed from That's a Toad. That does mean Hong Kong player had the teleport advantage and is going to use it to match top lane. So now we're at a point, kind of a stalemate. I don't expect much to happen now.
Yeah, it is second rift coming up, so that could be a point of contest there for both of these teams in just about 30 seconds. A few people moving up to this top lane, Pika Pika getting some action started up on That's a Toad, but this Malphite is an immovable force here, and That's a Toad is ready to
Yeah.
just turn things right around. Is going to maybe look for the cheese wheel onto Hong Kong player, but Aurelia does scamper away in time. And now 4 members on around this top lane, and Summoner has disconnected for just a moment as we take a pause from the action.
Yeah, a little bit of a DC looks like from Hong Kong player. What's on my throat here, too? But so a good time for me to take a pause too, I guess.
Yeah. Hope you're doing all right there on the other side. But yeah, assessing the game state here as we take a moment for the pause. 14 minutes into the game, plates have fallen, a much more even game state than the previous one. It is a little bit unfortunate here that it's going to be a cloud rift for the side of Chaotic Solar, so not able to
Yeah.
exert the same amount of objective pressure against Asian Invasion like the Infernal Rift was able to propose in that first game, but does still offer a benefit to a few of the champions. Gwen and Malphite in particular are going to be pretty happy with Cloud Soul, and also the all-around move speed just allows you to get around the map very effectively. So we'll see if they end up being able to dash towards that Soul Win Con just like Asian Invasion was in that first game. The client is going to take a bit of a pause from our pause earlier, and looks like it's going to be the Rift started up by Garvin here early, but the members of Chaotic Solar are around to offer the contest if they want to head over.
Yeah, and now it determines where are these players at on their key item spikes. That's really what I'm paying attention to now in these fights. One item completed for nearly everyone here, and what are those items that are being completed? I mean, the Kraken Slayer is so important for Crow to dish out damage in the team fight. That is a very high damage mythic item instead of going for something like a Gale Force. The Rift Herald looks like it is actually gonna. Is that still live here, or am I seeing that as a spectator bug here? Did it get claimed? Looks like it has not been claimed from either team yet. They're trying to set up around here and get the pressure. Pika Pika fishing for a hook. But so not 5 members up here yet. Like neither team really trying to commit to it too early on.
Yeah, it looks like they still want to just collect resources on the bot lane for their bot laners,
Yeah.
leaving it to the other 4 members to contest this objective. It is now going to be all the members coming on, and the Hong Kong player will have to walk slowly towards this objective if they want to find it. So it's going to have to be a steal from Garvin or nothing. That's a Toad offering their presence here to zone away the rest of the members, and that's going to be the Rift Herald picked up once again. Now sprinting towards the rest of the members, maybe looking for a flash engage. There's the flag and drag trying to chase their way over, but the rest of the members are fast enough, gets that move speed boost from the cloud map, gets their way out of there. Hong Kong player going to get left alone in the top lane for a while as well.
Yep, absolutely. And as you mentioned, neither of the bot laners wanting to even come up to that fight. Goach and Crow just farming up the waves happily, don't need to contest and be part of that tomfoolery. So, it is going to be both of the first Heralds and both of the first Dragons to Chaotic Solar. As you mentioned, very different from game number 1, but the gold lead is still close, 1,000 now in advantage. And Hammy not even able to take down the Herald. We're starting to see the mid tower, starting to see the value of this Gwyn pick. Wosher Garvin now on to Crow.
Yep, does get the ultimate, and the Feather Storm is going to be committed, but just not enough disengaged. They're getting caught out, found out by that first Vi-Q. So the Zai offering a little bit more safety than the Jinx from last game, but Vi is still a powerhouse to contend with, and so far it still has been Crow falling in these team fights.
And it is going to be Crow taking their 4th death of the game, by far the most here, and that's a Toad, that's a solo kill.
Yeah, that Malphite just absolutely clapping their way onto Hong Kong player there. That looked not playable at all for the Aurelia.
No, that did not. And that is literally only a tier 2 Boots and Iceborne Gauntlet completed for Malphite. But now 3-0, 400 gold objective bounty. And who's killing this Malphite this game, Potato?
Yeah, it is going to be a little bit difficult, but there are some options. I mean, Vi does have the cleaver available here, and we also see Goach, interestingly, opting for the Luden's Echo here. So not running with the Rod of Ages, as we see pretty often from the Vygar. But here comes the Dragon Contest. It's going to come down to the Smite. It is going to be secured by Absar there. Rizwan actually
Oh,
jumping over the wall, wanting a little bit more, engaging onto Garvin there, but Goach is there on the sidelines.
oh,
Flash ulti gets the shot down. 600 gold from Wizwong going into the pockets of the Vygar. The rest of the team members, a few pings saying that they want a little bit more there, does not end up interrupting the base, so we'll let them take it through, but goes on to the mid lane instead. Rift Herald dropped. That's likely going to be mid tower going down.
I mean, we'll have to see if Goach is able to hold it. They don't have the flash, but none of the other members want to commit. Absar back to establishing vision, so they're not committing there. I thought when they let the Scion back, it meant they were just going to force down the mid lane tower, but that doesn't seem to have been the call. I'm a little bit confused about that, but I mean, this game is a little bit flip flop from the first one. The red side team now is the Chaotic Solar Squad, and they are on a soul point at 19 minutes into this game. So a little bit of a timer now, just like in game number one, for the team that has the Vygar, but it's Asian Invasion on the back foot. You mentioned the aggressive Mythic choice. And, that third dragon is pretty impressive to have for Chaotic Solar, but the gold lead still, when we're talking about it being neck and neck, it definitely is here. And I mean, it still feels like you need a couple of items for Goach, a couple more items for a Hong Kong player, and at least the Divine Sunderer completed for Garvin before this Asian Invasion squad is going to be able to start winning team fights.
Yeah, certainly still very fightable for both teams here when it comes to any kind of objective contest, despite all of the objectives falling the way of Chaotic Solar. So a lot of this will come down to how the players will execute it. How do they use their ultimates? How do they establish safety for their carries? This Malphite still intimidating presence here in
Yeah.
the side lane, but is getting matched up by the Scion there earlier. Does look like Rizwan might get found out by Garmin here. Hong Kong player on the side as well. The Vault
No.
Breaker getting charged, but there's the rest of the team moving to support. So Vaya's got to be a little bit careful here. Will Garmin fall? There is the Gwen ultimate expended early on. Gwen, Rizwan, and Hong Kong player in a duel, and that's a Toad also getting engaged on by two members. It is going to be Garvin getting outdueled by Absar. A bit of
Oh.
revenge for that game one. The shutdown going over to Jarvan, Hong Kong player falling down as well to the Gwen. And now that's going to mean four members are going to able to start up this Baron. It is Ohami trying their best to trade as much
Oh,
back as they can, but
teleports.
no, they're going to invest a teleport instead. But here comes the response teleport from That's a Toad as well. This Malphite is going to just zone everybody away, and that's going to be a clean Baron take. This could be their ticket to opening up the game.
Yeah, really just want to commend Chaotic Solar's ability to successfully group up, get the picks, get the kills, and then get the Baron off the back of it too. It felt like Garvin was looking for a pick originally on top lane, but Rizwan was not at a spot that they could be collapsed on. And then the rest of the members just moved up the river. And they just walked on up there as a group and were able to get the kills they needed, and enough damage went down that secured them the Baron as well. That's a Toad in a little bit of trouble, but really does not care at all.
Yeah,
Pika
Nostalgia
Pika
Lee.
forces a flash away.
Yeah, Nostalgia Lee trying to flash in response, but no tippers available will mean that no engage goes down. And That's a Toad is still a very healthy amphibian here in the
Yeah.
mid lane. And yeah, we just see much better team movement all around the map, much better fights taken, and also just
Oh
wins in the
my.
solo lanes. There's the three-man unstoppable force. There's the Cataclysm, absolutely dunking on the members of Asian Invasion, forcing them out of their own jungle. And that's going to be the mid tower and the bot tower falling very soon.
His name might not be Wolsher Garvin, but Wolsher Jarvin is the one winning this jungle matchup here. I mean, this was what we wanted to see out of this player's performance in game number one, and they were not able to find it. But now 11 of 15 kills and a great contribution to the team. They are dunking down on the members of Asian Invasion and want to even up this score line. The Baron is still on their backs for another minute and 20 seconds. It is 20 seconds till the dragon spawns, reset coming out from Rizwan, and I expect all 5 members to be at this next objective and try to close the game out here from there.
Yeah, Riftmaker coming out for this win, and these solo laners have really had an impact as well. That's a Toad, just absolutely dunking on the Aurelia matchup, and Rizwan able to
Oh,
find a lot of
Pika.
great duels as well.
Oh,
Pika face checking, but the
uh,
Tibbers missing right there. A bit of an awkward
uh,
moment. So that is a big tool expended, and it looks like the call might actually just to not be the contest. Hong Kong player getting sent over
no,
to the
watch
top lane does
Garvin.
have the TP available, so we'll see
Garvin's
whether
gonna
they
look
want
for
to
it.
contest or whether they want to go for a steal.
Garvin
It
wants it.
is Pika Pika
Can't go
getting
in.
zoned out there. It is the unstoppable force also expended there. The Vi is
Oh
going
my
to
gosh.
try and escape,
Oh,
but no, these meatballs here on the front line is going to dash the hopes of Asian invasion. The solo laners are in the side lanes trying to get a little bit of gold back as much as they can. We do have one tower falling in the top lane, but this is a 3-man push coming in the mid lane. This is a big unstoppable rock just absolutely setting up their team for success in this game to blowing up the members of Asian Invasion and relentlessly pushing forward.
and they're going to continue to push themselves here, maybe looking for the tower. They likely don't want to kill Ohami here. So we'll see if the focus can get on the tower as the mini wave is getting shredded down. Look at that massive shield from Ohami. Is able to successfully clear out the wave and not die for it. That is going to keep the inhibitor tower alive. But like you said, the bear or the dragon soul was claimed. Baron now the next objective in 2.5 minutes. And this game feels like if Chaotic Solar can hold on, they might be able to tie up the series. Garvin's still looking for something though. But we have to take a look on That's a Toad. See him continue to be the difference maker in the team fights.
Yeah, That's a Toad has really been a croaking all over the enemy players in this game. I mean, these ultimates have been astounding, and the side laning has been as well. Gwen here making their way to a death cap. That's going to be a terrifying 3 items. We even see Hong Kong player picking up the Hull Breaker here on
Wow.
Aurelia of all champions to just try and get a little bit more done in the side lane. But we'll
Yeah.
have to see if it ends up being enough or not, because right now the team fights are looking a little impossible.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I think Asian Invasion's mid laner is saying. Hong Kong is saying, we cannot win team fights. I am going full split push. I'm going to try to win the 1v1, and now we'll have to see if that's going to pay off.
Yeah, it is
It's
going to be just 2 items versus almost 3 on the
yeah.
Gwen. So Hong Kong player trying to do a lot of dashing,
Nope.
but it's going to be a lot of dying instead, as Rizwan is going to go on a rampage, picking up that Aurelia
Absar?
in the side lane. And Absar hard engaging onto Gulch. The Lantern is going to keep them alive, and
my
Absar
gosh.
actually might be traded back here. Gulch does find the kill in response, and there's a Sion ulti, but actually ended early from Ohami. A flash play from Pika Pika, but a response flash from Crow. The Feather Storm is good. Roots down Garvin. Garvin is going to be stunned on the side. Rizwan teleports there in the mid lane as well.
That's
and
a
the shield is
Toad.
on, going on to Ohami. There's the flash right over the wall to find it onto Gulch, who is flashless now after Expendia earlier on the Vigar, and this time they're going to try and take down Ohami under the tower. Just Toad does not care about this tower whatsoever. That's probably 10, 12 shots going down onto the Malphite, barely ticking the health bar, going godlike on this rock, an absolute rock for their team. And now with Baron coming up in half a minute, that's going to be the next objective in the eyes of Chaotic Solar.
Wow, just so much still left in the tank for Chaotic Solar there. It felt like the fight started out going well. There's a glimmer of hope for Asian Invasion after they got the individual pick onto Absar, but ultimately it was That's a Toad showing up, flash ulting on top of Goach, letting that Vigard not play the game. They want to try to get something. Flash forward from Garvin, but can't get onto Crow.
Is available. The Feather Storm is not, but the move speed from the Cloud Soul, they're allowing Xayah to just pitter patter away. And now Garvin is going to get turned on, channeling the Q to try and run away. But Absar once more, the Relia stun coming out, the Cease, or the Unstoppable Force going out, the Sion with the response charge gets a 3-man knockup. Actually, there is Tibbers to try and fight it. Finally, a shutdown going on to That's a Toad, but a double kill responded by Crow here. Lying down the feathers, will
Oh,
this be a big pullback? Doesn't quite find it onto Goach. Goach still staying alive.
oh,
Pika
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 Pika.
gets the hook over onto Rizwan, but this Gwyn is still ghosted, still going. It is a 3-for-3 still. A bit of a miracle fight, as good as you can ask for from the members of Asian Invasion, but now Gwyn speeding their way under
Oh,
tower, snipping, cutting, absolutely just destroying their way through the members of Asian Invasion. There is the ace coming out. There is the solo lane picks working out for Chaotic Solar. And now with the members coming back onto the map, this is probably going to be the reset into Baron that we were looking for earlier.
wow. And I mean, we've been singing about That's a Toad this whole game, but Rizwan is online. That third full item is completed with the death cap now, and now a 700 gold bounty for themselves as well. I mean, you're right. It is the solo lane show this game for all of Chaotic Solar.
Yeah, and those flex picks, those draft adaptations that we saw, the surprise Gwyn R5, the mid lane attention from Chaotic Solar, visiting over and over again into Rizwan's lane to try and get as many trade kills as possible onto the Gwyn. Those are all paying off, and now it just seems like Asian Invasion has no answers into these solo laners. They found as good of a fight as they could ask for,
Yeah.
really executing pretty well there. I mean, we had that great engage from Ohami, the Scion ultimate coming in, knocking up 3, followed by a massive 3-man queue. We had Vigar able to finally find the shutdown onto That's a Toad, but as you mentioned before, there is so much left in the tank for Chaotic Solar, and they were able to close out the team fight regardless. Just does not see that top lane inner tower whatsoever, and now they're going to turn onto the Baron.
Yeah, now it feels just like the opposite of the last game. Nothing that Asian Invasion can do about this objective. With 30 seconds until the Elder Dragon once again, the double Uber buff into the end. This feels like they're trying to tie up this series. These teams are looking so strong in each of these two games, and we'll have to see if they are able to also get the Elder. I mean, yeah, this just feels like a complete flip flop from what we saw in game number 1. These teams are going blow for blow the entire time this series so far.
Oh, absolutely. And it's shaping up like it's going to be a great series here. 10 seconds left on the Elder. We have Chaotic Solar trying to find this secure. Maybe a miracle steal can come out from Garvin to turn the game around, but looks like they don't even want to give them the option. There's the flank from the solo laners. Gwyn coming in, the unstoppable force coming in, the cataclysm coming in as well. That's going to be Goach going down, Garvin going down as well. We have Pika Pika trying to find their way into the wave, trying to deny any potential siege from the minions. We do have two Tinky Boyos here in the mid lane as well, matching up into each other. So trying to stall the push for as long as possible. No CC available from That's a Toad is going to allow the teleport to come through. We've got just over half a wave left remaining for this push. Nostalgia Lee trying to solo Pika Pika here in the mid lane here, while Rizwan is diving down onto Ohami. The Scion is going to go down. The first Nexus Tower is going to fall. Hong Kong player trying to look for it onto Crow, but a nice Feather Storm. That's going to be the disengage they need. Garmin coming up in 3 seconds. One last tower standing between them and the Nexus. Goach is up here. Garmin is up here, but they can't find the approach. Chaotic Solar turns it around, ties up the series 1-1.
Yeah, an amazing performance, and I think it came off of the draft adaptations here, Potato. Really, really smart changes for Chaotic Solar in this second game. I mean, yeah, just like we saw in game 1 of the dominant shutout that Asian Invasion put on Chaotic Solar this time, being the ones to absolutely run the map from beginning to end.
Yeah, and that was really just an incredible draft. I mean, we asked after the dust all settled how they were going to kill the Malphite, and it looks like the answer is you don't.
You don't, yeah.
I mean, the Vigar Flex offered some interesting choices for Asian Invasion, but ultimately the power of the red side allowed them to get double counterpicked in the solo lanes, and it was all ogre from there. So we'll see what ends up happening in game 3, but so far both of these first 2 games have been kind of just shutouts from both sides. Asian Invasion taking game one and the Chaotic Solar taking game two. Neither of the opposing teams really having too much of a chance to play the game after the first couple minutes.
No, and just really speaks to the strength of both of these teams, I think, Potato. Like just showing how talented both of these rosters are. They know how to take a lead and run with it from start to finish. And like, I mean, it is insane to see this level just go back and forth. So I mean, we're going to be resetting for game number 3. This might be going all the way. We saw that it went to 3 games back when it was in semifinals, and now in finals, we'll see if they can take it to all 5. Because yeah, these teams shaping up to create an amazing grand finals. We'll see in a moment here to see what happens in game 3. It is game number 3, and the series is tied up 1-all for Chaotic Solar versus Asian Invasion in this best of 5 grand finals of the Shurima division here on Style Esports. Once again, I am Llama with All Out Potato bringing you all the action. Couple one-sided games, but for one apiece, I mean, it's just showing how strong these teams are. Couple different bands hitting the table, looks like here in the second, or in this third draft now. But also some similarities, right? Just kind of some targeted bans as well. But Zeri notably being taken off the table early on here in this third game.
Yeah, Wukong dropped here for the Zeri, so Chaotic Solar do not want Goach to find a reprisal on that champion like they did in game 1. We'll have to see what the final ban is. We'll also have to see if the
Oh,
Wukong priority is going to stay for the side of Chaotic
it's got
Solar.
it, yeah.
Looks like it is. Wasn't able to find too much success with it in the first game, but based on the way these drafts have been going, it seems like Chaotic Solar finds it just either unacceptable to give it over to Garvin as a champion to play, or just feel that it is the strongest jungle pick currently around. So Asian Invasion, we'll have to see what the response to it is this time around in the game 3. Previously, it was Vi and Zeri, but with Zeri off the table, they will have to adapt a little. Looks like Annie is going to get locked in this game 2.
And granted, Nostalgia Lead, did well on that Annie pick in the support role in the game number 2, but it wasn't necessarily pivotal, I don't think, for their team's success. It is something that can be flexed, right, between a Hong Kong player and Pika Pika. Either of them can play it. Annie is known to still be a top tier champion in both of those roles. But I do expect a jungler to come out as well without the Vi Zeri combo. Lee Sin is going to be the choice for Wolshu Garvin.
Oh yeah, that's a bit of a spicy one. But Lee Sin is not a champion that Garmin has pulled out too much in solo queue at least. But they might just find this to be a favorable matchup. And Ash actually going to be locked in for solar. We'll have to see whether it goes ADC or support here. Support Ash did get nerfed recently, and AD Ash did get buffed. And the new Ash Q actually is capable of pumping out a surprising amount of damage. So we'll see if they end up taking it bot lane. But for now, keeping things flexible.
Yep, it's flexibility, but it's also a lack of mobility for both of these champions for Chaotic Solar. Lee Sin now has some great targets to be able to kick around, but whoever you kind of kick into the team, if there's an Orianna ball on top of them, that could still be very dangerous. I mean, if they break the flex right here, yeah, they're saying Hong Kong player, I will be playing the Kennen once again. We're sending the Annie support. I want that slicing maelstrom to slice up Chaotic Solar in game 3.
Yeah, and right now there are just prime targets on the side of Chaotic Solar for the champions of Asian Invasion. I mean, Annie, Kennen, and Lee Sin are going to be very happy hitting any of these champions that Chaotic Solar has picked so far. So when taken off the table in the second phase, they don't want to see Riz1 with a performance like what they had in that previous game. Once again, Ornn is going to continue to be denied by the players of Chaotic
Do you ban
Solar.
Malphite too?
Previous one. We'll have to see if they do. I mean, I do think it came down more to the counter picks in that previous game than just the champions themselves. But maybe they have some post Malphite stress disorder. But no, it looks like
Chaotic Solar bans it. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it makes sense. I mean, it helps them with the press R comp, and Ash Orianna not particularly happy to try and play into a Malphite either.
Yeah, absolutely. And so there is still kind of some ball delivery system with the Wukong and Ori as well. As you mentioned, Ash still can be flexible. I think primarily we're seeing the ADC role right now after some of the nerfs to support, but it could do either. Some hovering champions for Goach on what they might want to be locking in, but similar to game number 1, it is going to be a Jinx pick going into there. That was something that we saw Crow play in game number 1. This time it is going to be Goach piloting that. And Melio. I didn't even know Melio was enabled for this series.
Okay, and actually, I quite like this. I mean, Melio is someone that can offer a lot of value into both Annie and Kennen. I mean, certainly both champions do offer a lot of damage off the bat as well, but really enabling the Ash here, the Cozy Campfire can just offer so much value for the team, and I really like this as a pairing. I mean, this bot lane is shaping up to look a little bit scary for the Jinx Annie counterpart. If Annie doesn't find some great engages at level 6 and onwards, Ash Melio can absolutely just run down this Jinx. There's no mobility available, and with the slows from the autos and the chase potential from Melio, the burn as well, Goach might have to be a little careful in this game.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I mean, you named some Emilio's strengths as a champion. This is a champ I've played a few reps of as well. Not only does it feel like a solo queue menace right now, it feels like it provides so much utility to the team with the warm hugs max on that E and you getting the shields for your team. You're giving them movement speed as well as a stacking shield that can stack twice here. I mean, and plus Melio's passive is applying more on hit. So like the champion like Ash really likes to have the on hit damage, the range extension, already one of the highest base range marksmen in the game. And now we kind of have to see, how this champion will play at the highest level. This isn't something that's even enabled in pro play yet. And here we're talking about Diamond 1 Master and Grandmaster players on the Rift today, Potato. And now Melio will have to see what that kind of utility pick brings to Chaotic Solar's game number 3 draft.
Yeah, my eyes are also drawn over to this top lane matchup. They ended up picking the Gnar into the Olaf here, and this is something that to me seems like it could potentially be a little bit dangerous. I mean, Wukong has some great targets to gank for in both the top lane and the bottom lane, and Lee Sin might be keeping their eye on both of these lanes as well, because if Ashmelio gets a lead, life is going to be very hard for the Jinx. But if Olaf gets a lead, the game seems like it absolutely is just not playable for the Gnar. I mean, how do you escape the Axis? How do you get through this menace of a champion there in the top lane? So we'll see what ends up happening, but it looks like both teams do have great win conditions, but I'm a little bit worried for if the top or bot side of Chaotic Solar start getting the snowball going.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And I do think Chaotic Solar need to get us some snowball in one of those two lanes to be accelerated enough in the mid game to take that lead into a victory because we still see scaling potential from Jinx. We see massive teamfight potential from Kennen and Gnar. There's lots of playmaking available for Asian Invasion and the scaling option. Granted, you do have Garvin on one of those premier early game playmaking champions on the Lee Sin. We'll have to see what Wilshire Garvin can do here in game number 3 because I mean, if this is a team that gets behind, like you mentioned, in either the top or the bot lane, Chaotic Solar has some great tools to just run and gun down all the members of Asian Invasion.
Yeah, so we will definitely have to see how that ends up going, and we'll also have to see if Kennen is able to make the same kind of impact in this game 3 as they did in that first game. I mean, Hong Kong player, an absolute menace on that mid lane, Kennen turning the tides of that early dragon fight and every team fight thereafter in that first game. So if we get a reprisal of that, it can be bad news quickly for Chaotic Solar.
Yep, you are absolutely correct here. And I mean, my eyes are still going to be on this Melio lane. Will it be able to provide enough range and damage to be able to shred through Jinx and Annie early? I think this pairing will actually be very, very oppressive into the shorter range of both Jinx and Annie. So we'll see if Garvin can maybe play through the bot lane now because. I mean, yeah, this is going to be a very, very interesting bot lane focus. I mean, when the series tied up, both these teams can still continue to take risks, and I think their drafts are reflective of that. When we see something like a Feast or Famine Olaf, same with the Lee Sin, like I mean, there is still lots of playmaking opportunities for both these teams here, and whatever team wins here is going to be one win away from the Grand Finals championship. So I mean, it's kind of do or die here. I do want to see what these teams can pull out because the momentum you get from this game could propel you into that grand finals victory.
Yeah, certainly a pivotal game for the series and one we will have to keep our eyes on. We are getting towards the last few seconds before the client delay here, so we're going to have to just wait that out before returning onto the Rift. But hope to see you guys soon on the other side. This should be a great game 3.
It is game number 3 of the grand finals of the Shurima division. Here we have Asian Invasion, Chaotic Solar on the Rift. Now for game number 3, we will have to see which team is going to take a lead here. Some new champs, some new approaches here, and critically, Emilio drafted in this game.
Yeah, Nostalgia Lee cheering a bit there in the bot lane bush to trumpet in the start of this third game. And already we're seeing a pretty interesting summoner spell choice. I mean, Lee Sin might say, master yourself, master the enemy, but looks like Nostalgia Lee wants to cleanse himself and cleanse his team, offering everyone the opportunity to counter any kind of CC the members of Asian Invasion can be throwing over at them.
Yeah, and the reason why you see this sometimes picked up on Emilio is because the Breath of Life, Emilio's ultimate, does cleanse every disabling and immobilizing effect on the entire team. It's like an anti-Amumu ultimate. We'll see if they get caught out level 1, though.
Yeah, not going to get cleansed from this Annie stun though, but Ash with the chase down going on to
Oh,
Pika Pika already forced the flash, going to drop the ward, and that's going to be an early first blood. The bush camp backfires, and Goach is going to find the trade onto Crow though, and is going to start running down Nostalgia Lee in response. So maybe actually a negative. I mean, they got as much out of it as they could, but it was 3 summoners expended, and is Goach getting time here with the wave, picking up all the XP that they need to get on to the map early on. But also 2 longswords start from the Ash, so kind of even, maybe, all things
yeah,
considered.
maybe a little bit. And ultimately, like, I think it was really smart that Nostalgia Lee did start E there. That is the Warm Hugs ability there that provides the shield. It's actually incredibly strong to have that because you get both shields immediately upon leveling up the ability. So they gave so much extra healing and shielding to the team there. That's kind of why Crow was able to pick up a kill for themselves. So an extra longsword here, you're right about the wave. It just means XP disadvantage, but already Nostalgia League gets some great poke here
Oh
on
my
Emilio.
gosh, yeah, Emilio is a absolute lane bully here. Pika Pika shows up to lane, immediately takes half of their health out and damage, and a single enhanced auto attack from Crow there, also chunking out Goach. But we do see Garvin here in the bot side as well. It is going to get warded out. There is some vision available for the team, so hopefully any kind of gank might be spotted. But yeah, so far the spot lane is looking great from Crow and Lee.
Yeah, now the challenge becomes how will junglers impact this lane now? We already see some bot sign for both of these junglers. Look at that range advantage now from Crow. Wow, just Absar able to run in and actually deny that blue buff.
Yeah, Absar kind of pushing out Garvin in his own jungle here.
Oh, I lied to you. He didn't
17
get
to
it.
8 kind of farm lead here early in the game, and looking potentially onto Hong Kong player, but is going to get stopped, get spotted out on a ward. But yeah, some nice early movement from all the members of Chaotic Solar here. And Ash this is one of those champions that wants to run you down with the slow, with the autos, with the Q enhance, and Melio is potentially just the best champion at enabling that to happen. Again, looking for a play onto Hong Kong player there in the mid lane, but Kennan's going to just run away just fine. And Absar might get collapsed on by 2 here. Garvin with the dash in, holding onto the Q, waiting for the execute damage. And there's the flash forward Q, ignite. The thundery shuriken from Hong Kong player does secure the kill. One traded back. Absar maybe getting a little bit too aggressive there on the move.
Yeah, and we know what Hong Kong player can do when they have gold in their pocket. Oh my gosh, Crow incredibly low now. Nostalgia in trouble.
Yeah, Goach with the lethal tempo stacked up, but the super mega fire kick is going to make sure that no further damage comes out from the Jinx. No flash available from the Annie either. In fact, all 4 flashes now in this bot lane, so both sides are going to just back away here. But certainly a lane with very heavy trading here early in the game.
Yeah, very heavy trading and very few summoner spells, like you mentioned from the level 1. No flashes on anyone here. Rizwan now trying to get the jump on
Yeah,
Ohami,
popping the
forces the flash out.
Ghost and starting to chuck these axes down, forcing the flash from Ohami, but it is just going to be Summoner Spell for now.
Yeah, they got to be really careful in the bot lane. Ultimately, it is Absar with the first death. Absar not having very good performances so far this series on the Wukong. They've shown so much priority on it in the draft, banning it away when they were not on the blue side. But it feels like they kind of have to take it almost as a deny from Garvin. And Garvin was fine to play into it. It felt like in both of these last games, first with the Vi and now with Lee Sin. So I mean, it's one of those champs where you have to find some success on it. Otherwise, it's not worth picking, and then you have to ban it. And ultimately, it is still the early advantage for Asian Invasion. Red side, all three games have been getting some early jumps here in the series.
Yeah, and I mean, it seemed like it kind of was working out there in the very early game, forcing Lee Sin off of the buff, picking that up, getting a pretty nice farm lead, but just a bit of an overstep there in towards the top lane, finding themselves in the 1v2. As now both bot laners have gotten their resets off. Goach has picked up the boots here, very useful for trying to maintain some distance from the bullying that Ash and Milio can put out. But here now, Noon Quiver Boots and Dagger picked up for Crow. So that's certainly going to be a power spike for the Ashes
Yeah.
top.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what that early gold is able to do for both of these marksmen. It's a little bit accelerated early on. It is going to be Asian Invasion starting up this Infernal Dragon first here. But it looks like Absar is going to have to give it up. Doesn't want anything to
Yeah.
do with that.
Hong Kong player did hit level 6 once again. This Cannon presence is just very strong. And there was also just a bot lane reset timer coming out from the members of Chaotic Solar. So using that timer well does pick up the first Inferno. A nice freebie there for the members of Asian Invasion. But otherwise, still a pretty even early game.
Yep, absolutely. And it's going to be the level 6 timers, like you mentioned from Hong Kong player. When the other members start hitting that level 6, I expect to see more action coming. A lot of ultimate reliant champions on both of these teams, right? When you see the Enchanted Crystal Arrow, when you have the Command Shockwave as well, you start to have way more kill potential and pick potential when the level 6 ultimates come online. So, Tibbers very reliant for Pika Pika on this Annie to pick up some kills too. Looks like Goach just hitting level 6 themselves with the Super Mega Death Rocket. So, this is when I start to see some more exciting things happening. But with flashes off cooldown as well, maybe that's going to be the next thing we see getting burned from both teams.
Yeah, maybe there's some kind of flash play available from Pika Pika. Get the stun out and let Goach
Oh,
finish. And there it
yep.
is. There's the Super Mega Death Rocket. But the members of Asian Invasion are just falling so low. But Crow finds themselves rooted into the Jinx traps and just goes down to the damage in response. And now Pika Pika walking forward again. The stun available, the shield available, and Lee Sin also available on the sideline, ready to pick up Nostalgia Lee. And it looks like just another bit of an overstep on this bot lane. They had all the advantages going for them, but unfortunately, it is going to be Crow falling there. The flash burn from Lee as well. And Hong Kong player maybe looking for a little bit of a trade in the mid lane as
Oh,
that's a lot of damage coming out from the cannon.
yeah, and once again, 4 summoner spells now burned for Asian Invasion, or 3 for Asian Invasion, but 4 for Chaotic Solar. The only ability still up is the Cleanse for Goach. So a successful play, successful kill onto Crow. Goach was not able to get the gold for it, but it does mean Pika Pika had it. I mean, it wasn't more than a second after you called it out, Potato, that was the play they looked for. Likely able to do something very similar once the Tibbers comes available for Pika as well. But Apps are top and has Cyclone available now.
Yeah, no flash for Ohami, so just going to be the jump to try and disengage. Pushes Absar into the tower, but the chase is on. Absar has got the tanking to
Oh,
start it out, but Garvin has responded there in the ball lane, gets the kick onto Crow. The traps go down, doesn't quite hit it, but the resonating strike hits true. Crow goes down once again, 1-3. A bit of an unfortunate start there for the Ash. Was bullying out Goach and Pika Pika early on, but just unfortunately getting turned around a couple times. But a lot of compensation here on this top
yeah.
lane. This is 9 minutes 30 in the game, and already that's going to be first tower very nearly falling.
This was one of the lanes that we talked about here in the draft was the top lane, and can Rizwan get ahead on the Olaf? With the support of Absar and without the flash from Ohami, it is going to be that big advantage 4 plates taken from a full health tower. However, it is traded back bot lane. So yes, you're getting your Olaf ahead, but at what cost? Feels like Pika Pika open a roam around and Goach with the time with the plates solo in the bot lane. Feels like this is going to be super great for Goach resetting now with 1,100 gold in their pocket. I mean, yeah, Ash and Melio don't necessarily need the gold, but the range advantage we thought that was going to come through really did not really damn.
Yeah, and there's going to be a point at which the Annie Jinx here can just force onto Ash Emilio if the Jinx is sufficiently far ahead. I mean, you always have flash terrors there to keep in the back of your mind, or a bush trap coming out, and just the raw DPS from the rest of the lane can be enough to finish things out. If you're not able to keep them at arm's length, if you're not going to be able to win that kiting battle, things can start looking very rough indeed. And here we go. Garvin already ready for another gank. Annie stun ready, but a nice disengage from Nostalgia Lee is going to keep them safe.
Yeah, I don't even think they started Garvin there. Maybe just some killer sixth sense with Pika Pika playing up, knowing that the Tibbers was available and not a great way to disengage. So looks like it is going to be Garvin continuing to spend some pressure down here. Breath of Life is available from Melio, which will create at least one layer of disengage potential. Pika Pika looking for something aggressive now. Might even be onto this Melio.
Yeah, Nostalgia Lee.
Here's
Oh, a
Absar.
nice Q there. And Apsar going in with the Cyclone, but the Tibbers disengage is good. Pika Pika getting auto down now. The Dragon Kick to disengage as
Oh.
well. There's the Death Rocket. A nice response.
Oh.
Breath of Life from Emilio and a nice flash coming out from Apsar too to not go down. But Tibbers nearly takes down the Wukong. But that is going to be two members on critical HP from Chaotic Solar. And so that's going to be the second Drake going over once again. The Dragon stacking here now in this third game is going to start going towards Asian invasion.
Yep, I mean it's the red side dragon pressure that you can claim if you are on that side of the map. However, CC immune from Rizwan with the Ragnarok used, Ohami has to flash out of that command shockwave. They try to make a cross map play happen, but Chaotic Solar gets nothing for it. The dragon claimed for Lee Sin and the Asian invasion squad. And once again, back to back, another Cloud Soul
The
hitting the
Ritual
Rift
wants
Potato.
it. Just the
Oh my!
auto attack and the axe there does find it. And that's going to be the last plate and the first tower falling. So this Olaf is quite accelerated. A nice flash from Pika Pika to save themselves from the Ash ultimate there. Could have been a pickup. And yeah, I was thinking the Dragon might have looked a little dicey for Chaotic Solar had they gone around for a proper contest. Because at the time, Jinx was definitely stronger. Kennen had also finished his proto belt. So the fight could have been a little bit difficult, but fortunately they were able to disengage with minimal losses. Does lose the dragon, but the rest of the team largely stays alive. It's going to be the bot side all resetting now, and it does seem like a story of two sides with advantages here. I mean,
Yeah.
Chaotic Solar with a lot of control on the top side of the map, but the bot side and the mid are both in advantage to Asian Invasion here.
And Garvin just spent the last 4 minutes down here, it felt like, Potato. Like, he completely ignored the top side of the jungle, got the dragon play, got the successful gank bot, and then just was sitting down there trying to make some kind of play happen. So because of that, has actually seceded some of the top camps from their jungle. And like you said, it is almost that horizontal pathing now. Because I mean, Absar was able to run in there after they took the top tower and Rizwan right behind. So yeah, I mean, Garvin really trying to keep this Goach Jinx accelerated in this third game and does have the mythic completed now, but you're right. It is Rizwan on the other side, who is a very scary Olaf.
Yeah, and I think that decision making makes sense. I mean, this not Olaf lane seems a little bit unsalvageable, and if Absar is there at the same time as Garvin on the gank, it could very well just be two more kills going
Yeah.
over to the pockets of Rizwan. So playing for the lane that's ahead, trying to get this Jinx win con going. I mean, this is one of the primary ways that Asian Invasion can
Oh,
try and take away this game as well. Absar barely secures the red buff there. But yeah, getting this Jinx ahead, making sure that that kind of damage potential was always there for the team fight, and also making sure that the Dragon contest will go favorably with the stronger bot side seems like a very sensible thing to do.
yeah, it really does. I mean, and so good on Garvin to recognize the win conditions from your team. Know that you can just let the top lane farm safely. Now, you take a look at Ohami here, happy to just hold that lane as much as he can and as long as he can in the top lane. Because yeah, you're not going to be winning that here. And so if you can keep your Jinx accelerated on this third Dragon timer, that's really what you want to be seeing out of Asian Invasion. I mean, and the gold lead at this point, 300 separating these two teams here. Three members now looking to collapse onto Rizwan. That's kind of what you need. You need to overload numbers. Like you said, in a 2v2, it will be favoring Chaotic Solar in the top lane. But if you get 3 or 4 members there, it might be benefit of them. But as we see Melio pinging in chat, Hong Kong player has the slicing maelstrom available, and that could absolutely destroy Chaotic Solar if they get it off on this Rift Herald timer.
Yeah, and Ghost is also moving, so this is a 5v4. Ashe is in the bot lane, unable to assist there. If we look at the gold, it is mostly the top side of the map that is advantage for Chaotic Solar, but still, taking a 5v4 into all of these big AoE ultimates is going to be a tall order. We do finally have C9 Crow starting to move. Rift Herald still fairly healthy for the moment. Orianna getting some great poke out there with the ball, trying to keep the disengage going, but looks like they're going to turn to the
Here
mid
comes
lane instead.
Crow. There's the
Here
arrow.
comes the arrow. Yeah, goes on to Pika Pika. The stun from the
Oh,
Annie. The shockwave. Nice. Two-man. And there is the Cyclone from Absol. Flashing onto Gocha as well. This Jinx is going to be defenseless. Does go down. Hong Kong Blade. Their Slicing Maelstrom is not going to mean anything to the Olaf CC immune plus the Breath of Life from the Milio. That's a big team fight win. 4-for-1 advantage over to Chaotic Solar, and they're going to just burn down this tower. Dragon in a minute, Rift Herald up. There are plenty of objectives available on the map for them to convert with.
an amazing rotation out of Crow to land the arrow and start the fight. The shockwave followed, and then it was just Absar cycloning around and destroying the members of Asian Invasion. You mentioned it, this Rizwan Ragnarok unstoppable, just let Slicing Maelstrom not hold him in place, just shredding through this big Viking, did the damage needed. And yeah, it's a big team fight win here. So with 15 seconds now until the dragon spawns and resets coming through for both of these teams, we have to take stock of what's going on because Flash is still up for all 5 members on Asian Invasion, and a lot of Flash is still available on the opposite side as well. Big ultimate cooldowns back up too. We see the command Shockwave available, Ragnarok back available as well. This is going to be another big team fight, Potato.
Yeah, a lot of ultimates are still down though. Enchanted Crystal Arrow is coming up soon, but the Cyclone is down. The Breath of Life is down. Crucially, Goach did not flash in that previous team fight, but Apsar did to get that engage going. Teleport now coming out from Ohami was
But isn't
able to
Mega
finish out their Mythic, but yeah, just mini and very low on the Rage bar. A few nice autos coming out from Goach to get things started.
Oh,
Look
look
at
at
the
that.
damage from That's a Toad. There's the Shockwave again, catching on to Garvin. Both flashes burned. Now the CC immune, the Ragnarok, is going to get traded from Rizwan. And oh my god, there's the Orianna damage killing spree now onto Garvin. And there is the arrow stopping the Maelstrom from doing anything. Hong Kong player is getting low. It is Rizwan falling as well, but now Pika Pika is getting aggressed on. A huge Gnar ultimate into the Death Rocket. This could be the turnaround from Goach. Crow does not offer enough DPS, or do they? No, one auto away. The anti-shield comes in clutch. Absar forced to run away. A triple kill. A humongous turn from Ohami to save the game there. Sure, the dragon goes on over to Chaotic Solar, but the Jinx acceleration plan continues to pay dividends. A nice ultimate combo there to find the team fight win, to find the tower, to find more gold into the pockets of Gulch.
Oh, Hammy went hammy in that fight, Potato. It was a massive Mega Gnar ultimate into the wall, followed from the Super Mega Death Rocket that picked up the kills, got Jinx excited, and as you said, might have been a game saver for Asian Invasion. Yes, they lost the dragon. Yes, they're not able to keep that stack going, but ultimately that was that Mega Gnar timer that I said that he did not have on the original teleport, but they bought enough time to stack it up and turn the fight because of it. Not enough damage yet for the rest of Chaotic Solar to be able to continue their advantage there. So now we'll have to see how that impacts now that 2 items are getting completed for some of these carries. Hong Kong player in trouble.
Yeah, Slicing Maelstrom not available, so this should be a quick pickup. Absar does take it over. And yeah, just on the tail end of the fight, a lot of key ultimates were not available for the members of Chaotic Solar. Shockwave was expended to get the pick onto Garvin. Ragnarok was expended off the back of the Shockwave to blow the 2 flashes. With those tools down, sure, we had the Crystal Arrow disengaging the Maelstrom, but Ohami was not marked on the tail end of the fight, and the reward was there. Now Rizwan forced to actually ghost away from this Gnar, winning in this side lane. Now Garvin and Goach also hovering on the side to try and keep them safe. And this Olaf is looking a little bit less advantage now than previously in the side lane after those big pickups.
Yeah, and this is one of the challenge of this champion. Yes, it performs so well with the Ragnarok and the ultimate ability, but it's not really known as a premier team fighter. And you notice that some of the items that Rizwan is picking up is trying to support some of the weakness of the champion. You see the AoE that's now been completed, looking like the next mythic item will be chosen as the Stride Breaker. That on top of the Ravenous Hydra means that you have a little bit more AoE in your kit, but this is not a area of effect team fight champion here. The advantage that it has is running after and chasing down these squishy members while not being able to get CC'd here. But I mean, you're right. This is not quite as strong as we saw in the first 15 minutes and destroying the early tower plate. So now who needs to come online to make up for that damage? And I have my eyes on Crow here. This is a character on the Ash that needs 2 or 3 items to be dishing out meaningful damage here. That on top of that's a Toad on the Shockwave. Those are the two main players that need to be dishing out the key team fight damage to carry Chaotic Solar to a win. And they're going to be trying to do that by forcing a fight at the Baron, but going to be a disengage.
Yeah, I mean, Baron is just too difficult to take now, pulling the members over. And with Ash also going for the Shield Bow Hurricane build to start things out, they are going to just be a lot more utility for a while
Yeah.
until they can get that IE finished up. So the damage is going to be comparatively lower. We also see Goach now with a completed rapid fire cannon well on their way to the IE as well, just missing the BF sword and the final combined cost. So that's going to be a very scary champion. But still, the tools are there for Chaotic Solar to succeed. I mean, we saw what the Cyclone and Shockwave combos can do. We saw the
Mm-hmm.
power of the Ash ultimate pick potential there earlier in the fight around mid lane. Oh, actually looks like the Baron is going to get started off
Nope.
really early here, but spotted out by the blue trinket. Not too much damage taken. A few members from both teams making their way on over, but no fight for the moment being. There's just a lot of push and pull around these objectives.
It's a lot of push and pull, and Chaotic Solar wants to start it off with a pick. I think you have team fight potentials, but with the Enchanted Crystal Arrow, as well as some ability to stick with something like a Cyclone, it feels like a great way to start off a fight is by getting one of these squishy targets out of it early. If you can get Goach, if you can even kill Pika Pika before that ultimate comes down with the Tibbers, that's really how you want to start these fights off here because I mean, if you have Hong Kong player jumping over the wall with a slicing maelstrom, all these members can die. Like there is not a true tank on either team here. So the squishiness, the execution, the pick potential could absolutely sway these team fights. And with just a matter of seconds now, as this dragon is spawning, both these teams need to position first, but it is Asian Invasion that's the first into the pit area.
Yeah, it can certainly be explosive for both teams. We do have Ash also now finishing up the Hurricane, so
Look
we'll
at his
have that two
teleport.
item spike available. And yeah, teleport coming in from the
I
bottom
want to
lane.
try to
So
pinch.
Chaotic Solar approaching from two different angles here, coming in from the bot lane and the mid lane. It is Mega Gnar procced now for Ohami, so they are
Okay.
going to be on a timer to see whether they can get the team fight done and over with before the Rage Bar finishes out. The control ward also
No, I
placed
don't
over.
think they
Abzar
will.
kind of caught in the middle of
Tries but
everyone
misses.
there. Ohami ultimate is not going to hit. Rizwan going to CC a new Hong Kong player trying to go over, but now already Goach falling, and now Hong Kong player next in their sights is going to fall down. Pika Pika getting burned down by Crow, able to free fire on the sideline. Now Absar looking for more damage on
Oh.
Ohami. This is going to be a tired Meganar. The axe lands, the
Woo!
damage lands, a triple kill coming out for Rizwan. That's going to be the members turning on to the Baron. A nice team fight win. They're 5-1 in favor of Chaotic Solar.
This is the fight we wanted to see in the back and forth that we were missing in the last 2 games. Potato ultimately better team fought from the side of Chaotic Solar. They teleported That's a Toad bottom lane to pair up with Rizwan and then got the flank angle, got the combo there with Absar and the Cyclone. I mean, Ohami was on such a timer on that Meganar. You called it out. You said once he gets tired, it's so hard. And all it took was a flash away. And then that Meganar did nothing. And it was so hard to really have any kind of full engage. Ultimately, it is going to be the Baron claimed, but the Dragon is still on the map and up for the taking. Both of these teams might want to try to position around it, but it's going to be really hard for Asian Invasion to take the fight without the key ultimates and without the extra stats that the Baron will be giving to the side of Chaotic Solar.
Yeah, and ultimately that last team fight was just a lot less well coordinated than the
Yeah.
previous one we saw
Oh, there's
at
the
the
pick.
Dragon. Oh, yep, there goes Pika Pika. They're going to fall down easily to Rizwan. There's the Ragnarok going around.
That's
Absar
on the
there.
other side.
1v2ing on the side lane. Nostalgia Lee going to try and offer some support. There's the Meganar going over. With the Resonating Strike does hit on over, but the Lee Sin
Oh,
Q is going to expire. But
oh,
another Q1, Q2 connects. Nostalgia Lee trying their best to keep
Absar?
this Wukong
Absar?
alive, and they are going to do it. Garvin is going to fall down on the back end of the 1v2, just does not have enough juice left to finish out this Wukong, gaining so much armor from the Conqueror, from the passive, so much healing as well, supported by the Melio there. And now with 3 members down, that's going to be Dragon falling. They're still got Baron left on the map, still got push available, looking for the bot lane, for the mid lane. This is looking like Chaotic Solar's game to win.
It is, and it also could be still close here. I don't think that they are out of the woods quite yet. We know Asian Invasion is not a team to go ahead and keel over and just call it quits. They will be fighting till the bitter end, and they have the tools to do just that. They're going to be looking to siege the inner tower now, but another 3 kills, as well as a big objective with that second dragon claimed. Bearing around their neck, a brief pause on a disconnect, but I mean, as you said, this really is all of Chaotic Solar showing up in this third game.
Yeah, and I think a lot of these team fights are coming down to how both teams are using their ultimates. We
Yes.
mentioned previously how things get explosive, how players will just evaporate to the damage from each team coming out. And we saw previously the team fight that was failed from Asian Invasion. It was a Meganar onto one person that was flashed
Yep.
away from. It was Annie solo ulting the Olaf, who just ignored it with the Ragnarok and turned the damage straight around and
Yeah.
flashing onto Golcher to finish them off. It was Hong Kong player unable to find an effective a chaotic maelstrom there, and so yeah, in these team fights, it's a lot of push and pull. It's a lot of very close ability usages from either side. And whoever can find the better value with their kit are going to be the ones walking away victorious. I mean, the gold lead right now 6K in advantage for Chaotic Solar, but still definitely winning chances, as you mentioned, for Asian Invasion as well.
Yeah. Yeah, and you've absolutely named, how different this is from previous games in the series. Remember in the last game when we see something like an unkillable Malphite against a big boy Scion, you got a Gwyn there as well as going immune. Like those fights lasted just so much longer. And here, as we've said, there were 0 tanks on either side. Like the tankiest item I'm seeing is like Kindle gems completed for these players, right? Like yeah, there is really not that level of defensiveness we've seen in previous games, which, as you said, just raises the level of execution so much because you can get a massive Gnar ult into a super mega death rocket with a Timbers over the top, and like all 5 of these members are just going to absolutely evaporate. So, yes, as you mentioned, a gold lead for Chaotic Solar. They are able to take this inner tower with the bot tower under focus and under threat as well. So now we have to see, can Chaotic Solar play it cleanly enough, play it methodically enough to get the gold and break the base while not allowing some of these key ultimates and wombo combo with the Maelstrom, with the Meganar, with the Super Mega Death Rocket, with the Tibbers to combo successfully to melt through Chaotic Solar. Because, like you said, it's their game to win and also could be their game to lose.
Yeah, Hong Kong player finding the pick onto Rizwan. They're getting the 1v2 with the support of Garvin. And yeah, as this game continues onwards, for the side of Asian Invasion, my eyes are on Gulch. My eyes are on how the rest of the team can set them up for success on their way to the third item. Getting close, actually, second only to Rizwan for most gold in the game. And should this Jinx be able to get online with the CC combination that the team can offer, then the rest of the gold doesn't matter when they get
Yeah.
taken off the map instantly. So we'll see if that can come to pass. There might be a bit of calmness for the next few minutes, as it is a while before the next objectives are spawning, and Baron is left with less than a quarter on its duration. The base still standing somewhat for the moment.
Yep.
Objective bounties on the map as well. One big shutdown going over already. Unfortunately, falling into the hands of Garvin would have been real nice to see it maybe onto the cannon there, but it was a very close engagement. Another big shutdown available for Absar as well, and a small one on Crow. So if some of these bounties start going over, it could be a pathway back to success too. We have Ohami canceling their back, maybe wanting to find a bit of an ambush on the Toad. The arrow goes on, trying to maybe burn the cleanse from Goach, but
Oh,
Trigger Discipline does hold. But Garvin
oh,
there
what a
actually
clean
finding a
fly.
clean, nice pick onto Toad there. Toad trying to find their way out, but the chase from Ohami is good. That's going to be a free pickup, and that's going to be some map pressure going over to the side of an Asian invasion for a moment. No objectives for the moment, but the Chaotic Solar has to be really careful not to turn this one kill into a snowball set of kills
You're
for
absolutely right, because at this level they can find the picks and find the kills and overload with the damage, because I mean, even that one kill just means a top tower. It means an objective bounty. It means that now objective bounties are falling off because the gold league comes so close. Like, it is these small things that are going to make the biggest difference in this entire series. This is the grand finals. We know that these are talented teams, talented rosters, and have shown the ability to dominate when given the opportunity to. So, as you said, there's a little bit of a lull here, but that just means that mistakes can be even more compounded, because 2 minutes till the dragon, 2.5 until, or two till the baron, 2.5 till the dragon. And yeah, you go a little bit too far and it can be game over for your team. And I mean, you see how teams try to prevent that. We noticed some division happening around the map. Hong Kong players sweeping it out now themselves, trying to fight for some neutral space to try to get the pick. The reason why the one topside worked was because Ohami didn't back and just covered Toad until Garvin was able to get up there, and then he got the amazing play that caused a kill to go over. So it's those kind of picks, that level of patience and that level of execution, that can really make or break. And I want to see who's going to be the standout player to really win the game for their team. So we're just about a minute until the next objective. Some key items coming forward critically. This Infinity Edge now completed for Goach. That's going to be a massive game changer here. I mean, we'll have to see here what objective these teams are going to be fighting for. Critically, Guardian Angel now completed as well for Absar. That's going to be a massive part of this next team fight, but it's really going to be on the key ultimate on what lands first and if they can get 100 to 0, because that's going to make all the difference.
Crow's going to get IE gold off of this midwave as well, so the ADCs will be on item parity. Actually, no, Goach with a extra Last Whisper, so
Wow.
definitely something that will come in handy. But yeah, with the GA fully finished on the Wukong and the stopwatch also available on the Orianna, the defensive capabilities
Yeah.
for hampering these kind of big picks, big engages that are available to the Chaotic Solar members now are much improved compared to the previous team fight. So we'll have to see if that ends up making a difference as well. But yeah, a lot of items coming out. The objectives now are very close to spawning, and we know that both of these teams are going to have their eyes on the prizes.
Yes, absolutely. It's going to be the objectives that make or break this game here, Potato. As you mentioned, defensive capabilities for Asian Invasion as well. A stopwatch for Lee Sin completed in an inventory. You mentioned that Goach opted for the completed Last Whisper instead of picking up a stopwatch or, one of those potions for themselves. But now this might be the pick. That's what they wanted. There's the
Yep,
cleanse.
cleanse burned from Gulch already. Absar wants to find a bit more of an engage,
Wow.
does not do so. So it is the ultimate traded for the cleanse from Jinx, but that seems like pretty good value. That's going to make them turn and
The
look
10
on
members are
the
alive.
Baron to start. All of the other summoners are available, so this could be the
Oh, they want
crucial
it.
fight. Absar trying to look for it. There is the Shockwave Cyclone combo that we talked about earlier, but there's the Slicing Maelstrom in response, but it's not quite enough. Crow is firing. Crow is getting the damage done. A double kill going over. That's a Toad finding the trade as well. Aggressive look from Absar, and that's a Toad. Shuts down the team of Asian Invasion. And now they say, screw the Baron. We're pushing down straight down the mid lane. 20 seconds left on Pika Pika. The lowest death time across the team. 30 seconds remaining on a few of the other
And they have a
members. Will
wave.
this be enough? They do have a little bit of a wave. This cannon minion and 3 casters. It is going to be risk one taking things up
That's
to
all it
start.
was.
Pika is almost respawning, but it looks like they'll have enough damage to take on the
Wow.
Nexus. A Baron start, a decisive engage from Wukong and Orianna Abstar, and that's a Toad finding the game close in this third critical game of the series. Does put Chaotic Solar at a 2-1 lead.
And it is the smallest things, Potato. We talked about it. We set it up during that little delay in the pause. And ultimately, Absar, a player that we faulted in game number one for not having the best Wukong performance, and then showing up game number two and game number three, has warmed up, found the engage, the critical option, and opening onto Goach, shut down Jinx, and then took the fight and the win right after.
Yeah, and it was such intelligent play. I mean, it was just perfectly set up. Crow with the arrow, burning the cleanse, making sure that the Jinx doesn't have the option of safety, turning onto the Baron, drawing the players over, and then looking with the Wukong clone, the speed ups coming in from the rest of the team, and the decisive engage to close out the team fight. That was just pretty picture perfect, as much
Yeah.
as you could ask for from this team. Hong Kong player tried to turn it around with the slicing maelstrom, but ultimately was not enough. The rest of the pieces were there without Goach in the picture. The fight was just too difficult. So we're going to be heading into game 4 now. This is do or die for Asian Invasion. They were able to take that semifinals game 2-1 in a victory, but this is grand finals. The slate is reset. It's chaotic solar with advantage now. We'll have to see if they can close it out or if Asian Invasion is going to bring us to a game 5.
It is game number 4 of this best of 5 grand finals of the Shurima division between Asian Invasion and Chaotic Solar. Chaotic Solar on match point now. They are up 2-1. The sides have swapped. Asian Invasion back on the red side. Also, I guess same sides then, right? From this last game we just saw? Yeah, I guess that's true. But,
Yeah, from
you
game
know, some taking stock of the drafts we've seen recently, some high priority on things like Wukong, like Annie these last couple of games. I mean, we'll kind of have to see what this means for game number 4, where these teams need to go, because Asian Invasion is a do or die stage.
Yeah, this is the game to decide the series potentially. And Oriana actually getting taken out, denied from Chaotic Solar here. Chaotic Solar sticking with their 3 bans from the previous game. Looks like they've figured out what they want to keep off the table, for blue side at least. It is potentially a few picks being left open. So Casio was being banned a lot by Asian Invasion earlier in the series, so that's going to be available now, assuming they don't take it out there. Rel's still going to be denied. That has been pick that's been consistently denied, and Calyx Solar just sticking with the Wukong B1.
Yep, absolutely. And now you kind of have to decide, okay, what is our response into it again? Asian Invasion in the last game went Annie Lee Sin as 1-2. We'll have to see if that is going to be changed. Hecarim being hovered, something that Asian Invasion did pull out. We actually did see Garvin playing this in the semifinals between these two teams and picked up a victory. So we'll see if that is going to be the choice. That might mean some different kind of compositional thinking here. I like having a little bit more of the late game team fighter that Lee Sin really is lacking. So we'll see if that Hacker makes a difference, but not something we've seen as kind of a premier jungler recently.
Yeah, after Garvin fell behind on Lisa in the previous game, it just felt a little bit difficult to play. They found a few nice kick angles in the side lanes for 1 or 2 picks, but outside of that, just didn't quite have the impact that they were hoping for the game. So Hecarim, yeah, definitely can offer a lot more disruption with the ultimate, and also very strong in ganking. And Kaisa
Yeah.
here as a pairing can get away from that opponent engagement. Wukong really want to go on and find the backline, find them trapped there, but Kaisa has the ability to follow the Hecarim ultimate or any other CC from the rest of their team, and also just reposition mid fight, which is always a useful tool.
Absolutely. And so now I wonder, if you're Asian Invasion, are you looking for more comfort? Do you go back to something you feel like you've won and found success on in the past? And I feel like with the Hecarim Kaisa being 2 champions that we have not seen Asian Invasion pull out at all, if they're actually defaulting to something a little bit more comfortable for them, just in terms of play style or champion comfort. And Chaotic Solar now feels like they have some space to continue to do what's been working for them. Granted, game number 2, we saw the Zaya finding a lot of success, and that will be what they go to again. Cassante locked in. I mean, again, some strong choices. How is Asian Invasion going to be countering some of this, though?
Yeah, and
Ooh, rock
before
solid.
it was Shen into the Cassante, and now it looks
Yeah,
like potentially the Malphite into the Cassante. I do like the Zaya as a pickup, a
yeah.
champion that can match up pretty well to Kaisa, in my opinion. Usually ends up getting the push just from the feathers and offers a lot of zone control through that in the bot lane, and of course also very effective into things like the Hecarim Malphite ulti, as long as you get the proper response time. Actually, Chaotic Solar are the ones banning away the Rakan pick, so going to deny it from a potential R4 Rakan, and also from themselves as a pairing from the Zaya there. Uh,
Yeah, it's interesting.
yeah, gonna have the last few bans coming through, and then we'll have to see how both teams finish out the draft.
Yeah, and I mean, Chaotic Solar has been showing a lot of different mid lane champions throughout this series. We saw in game number 1, they had the Vigar. In game 2, switched to the Malphite is what they pulled out. And game number 3, it was the Oriana. So, I mean, lots of different choices here, but double support bans. Asian Invasion now has to choose what they want to pick up here. Presumably, it is going to be a support pairing. I like the engage angle. Nautilus is one of the classic ones, Leona as well. And so it looks like that might be what they're going for. Both those champs hovered. Maybe just a shout out to the stream here. We'll see if that is what they end up locking in. But ultimately, you want to go in, you want to fight, you want to do damage, you want to be in their face, and Leona's going to do exactly that.
Yeah, and it looks like Asian Invasion is indexing just completely onto full engage here. Hecarim, Kaisa, Malphite, Leona. They want to get in the thick
Yeah.
of the action. They want to just dive on all over your team. So we'll see if Chaotic Solar, I mean, they have the opportunity to draft a variety of disengage options here.
Yeah.
For the lane counter in particular, Janna is a really effective answer into Leona. But looks like Braum being hovered here, a nice Warden offering some safety, and the stun passive also very useful. People like Wukong, Xayah, Cassante, all very good at proccing that. So could offer a bit of a thwart into the kind of diving action that Asian
Yeah.
Invasion want to bring out here.
But it's also kind of a tanky frontliner too, right? As you said, it's not the Janna pick, something that's complete disengage. Like you're still able to stand your ground here. But I'm actually known as one of those Leona counters because Leona Zenith blades in and then you just start smacking them. But Chaotic Solar rounding out their draft with an Aurelion Soul, that is a monster scaling champ.
Yeah, monster scaling for sure. And I'm actually feeling like a lot of
Ooh,
the success
I like this.
for their team comp might revolve around the ASOL. I mean, ASOL is
Yeah.
someone with all of their percent max HP burn can absolutely tear through the Hecarim, the Malphite, the Leona here, but at the same time can be very vulnerable to the dive in and engage options that Asian Invasion are taking out. So it looks like it's going to be answered with the Ari, another champion that can
Mm.
be very mobile around these team fights, get picks started with the charm. So yeah, this is already looking like a lot of very explosive fights coming out as the game
I
goes
mean, and it's 5 new champions drafted from Asian Invasion that we have not seen in
on.
this series here, Potato. Like, we've seen some of this familiarity here. This is looking very similar to the first half that Chaotic Solar drafted in game number 1 when they had the Wukong Jinx and Cassante. This time it's Wukong Xayah and Cassante. But yeah, like, this is very different than what's already been drafted here by Asian Invasion. And in the do or die grand finals, you have to think this is just something that they think we can win with this. We know how to play this style, and we'll see if that's going to come true because they need to force a game 5 if they want to pick up this grand finals victory. Remember, not only is it about the finals, but there is also cash here on the line. First place taking home $700. Second place only 200. So this could be a $500 game of League of Legends here, Potato.
Yeah, $100 per player gets you some nice stuff, you know. Um, and I think in terms of comps to bring this to a game 5, I actually quite like what Asian Invasion is doing here. I mean, the threshold of execution is not all that high. You have a lot of champions that just want to go in and press R. You just have your eyes locked on to some of the carry threats that Chaotic Solar have here. And it feels like Chaotic Solar are the ones that have to be a little bit more careful about how they navigate the team fights. The Wukong here is going to be a little bit more vulnerable. The Xayah here will be reaction check to see if they can respond to the threats appropriately. ASO will have to position very well as well. So we'll see how the teams end up
Yeah.
executing. I mean, as we mentioned before, like both these teams have shown their ability to find winning fights, have shown their ability to close out games when given a lead. So yeah, a lot riding on the line for this game for Chaotic Solar, looking for the close to the series. Asian Invasion wanting to hang on.
Yep, absolutely. We'll have to see here as champions are getting locked in, loadouts are being prepared, what that means for this fourth game. Will it be Chaotic Solar becoming our Shurima Division Grand Final winners, or will Asian Division force us to a game number 5? There's only one way to find out, and it's by sticking around after this short break. Oh, we are on to the Rift. It is game number 4 now between Asian Invasion and Chaotic Solar, playing for all the marbles. The victor for the Shurima division, and already level 1 looks a little bit different from what we've seen so far.
Yeah, 5-man invade into this bottom bush. Pika Pika was able to get there in time, spot them out. Ping's danger, but Absar is going to find them out for just a moment here. Goch is there to protect their support though, and that will give Garvin and Ohami free reign to move into the top side, drop vision if they should like, establish presence if they should like.
Yeah, so they're really trying to put the pressure into Asian Invasion early on. I mean, typically when it's like a do or die scenario, both teams are going to play super risk adverse. But when you're the team that's up a game here, Potato, you are welcome to do any kind of crazy stuff to try to get an advantage because you kind of have a game to play with a little bit, it feels like.
Yeah, it looks like they're going to make a late invade here into the bot side. The Braum level 1 is something that certainly has to be expected, and looks like that is going to be the blue buff denied from Garvin. We'll see if Garvin ends up figuring this out or if they are going to just lose their bot side camps for free here. They will notice Crow and Lee coming from the top bush here, so likely they'll figure out what's going on. Leona already in with an engager, but there's the Braum passive offering value. Pika Pika definitely eating the worst side of the trade. Crow is going to stack up this lethal tempo earlier as well, and Goch there with the passive stun coming out is going to have to try and survive, does not do so. The Braum level 1 power from Nostalgia Lee is going to give a free kill early on to C9 Crow.
Yeah, we talked about how strong Braum is in a level 1 engage, but still in lane. I mean, Pika Pika took the Zenith Blade in at level 1, and then the second concussive blows landed onto Goch. They burned the heal and they died. An amazing early level for the bot lane, and Crow off to a very early lead. You gotta be Asian Invasion not tilting at this point because that can be devastating. But look at that. Looks like Hong Kong player disconnected. I expect to see a pause.
Yeah,
But
and
now
Garvin
reconnecting,
turned
not a great start here for Asian Invasion.
No, not a great start at all. And Garmin forced to just turn around as ASO breathes on them. And also not able to find camps. I mean, the entire bot side was taken away by Absar. Garmin was looking for a potential invade onto the top side, but the movements from the rest of the team prevented that from happening. And now Wukong is going to get potentially 3 quadrants here. Garmin just gonna have to walk back and forth, looking in despair at his empty jungle. And yeah, Absar looking for a bot on a perfect gank timing. Pika Pika there choosing to go in once again and is going to fall once again. No, actually is going to just burn the flash. Does manage to stay alive for the moment, but where will they retreat to? I mean, they're in enemy territory right now. This at least gives Garvin the option to move into the top side jungle, but overall still, this is not looking great for Asian Invasion.
No, not a great start for them. It is going to be Pika Pika just executing instead. Gratefully, it is not a kill over, but now flash forward responded from Goch.
Yeah, there is some movement speed coming in for C9 Crow, but not enough chasing power. A few pings going down to trying to find Garvin on this topside camp, farming from both Absar and that's a Toad here, but looks like they're not quite going to be able to find it. Rizwan actually moving very close. Yeah, Wusher Garvin trying to find it, but look at that. Cassante, survivability. That's 90% damage reduction for you. How do you like it? That's going to be a kill taken out from Garvin. And now Ari trying to move. Flash, follow Flash away from Rizwan. He's got the fingers. He's got the reaction check. And right now they're feeling it in this game for turning up all good news for Chaotic Solar.
And 1,000 gold already, Potato. 445 into this game, and they're already up 1,000 gold. Chaotic Solar knows that they have the advantage, that they want to push it. I mean, this is a team that Asian Invasion has drafted for 5v5 team fighting, ease of execution play. But if you can't get to parity at team fights, you don't have a way to do the damage and get the kills. So it feels like Asian Invasion, pump the brakes, come off of some of this a little bit. Garvin became too aggressive trying to dive a Cassante there. And it feels like you're just trying to push tempo too much. I know it's do or die for Asian Invasion, but you don't have to throw away the game in the first 5 minutes.
Yeah, unfortunately, the game is not entirely thrown yet. Sure, there is a pretty significant gold lead across the team currently, but that gold is pretty evenly spread out across a variety of members. In fact, actually, here, Garvin still with a bit of a gold lead onto Apsar. So it is a small lead in the bot lane and a small lead there in the top lane, but certainly comebackable. I'd like to see Pika Pika offering a little bit more restraint on these engages, but it looks like
Oh,
instead Nostalgia Lee is going to be the one going in. It's going to be a full-on 3v3, but again, I'm looking at Braum passive value here. Pika Pika getting stunned out. Garvin getting stunned out as well. Garvin one hit from dead. Apsar does take them down. Now it's Pika Pika on the next one, and here comes the dragon flying it on in. A double kill going over, accelerating this ASO. That's a Toad. Hits level 6 there on the roam, picking up the double kill, and it's continuing to look good for Chaotic Solar. And now, all out here in the top lane, hitting that level 6 power spike, going onto this Malphite. Ohami forced to flash away. One more auto Q will do it. Trying to find the tower dive is Ridwan here. The Q does miss, but the minion damage is actually just going to finish out Ohami there, losing a huge wave on the top side as well. Across the map, Chaotic Solar are finding wins.
yeah, the brakes have been anything but pumped here. I mean, it feels like it's going from bad to worse in all three of these lanes. We have not seen an early game performance looking like this from Asian Invasion. We know this is a team that sometimes does fall behind early, but can still team fight their way out of it. And they just really have to not tilt, knowing that this is the grand finals of the Shurima division, and you don't want to be throwing away game number 4 like this. So farm up, continue to scale, play the team fights as 5 is still an option. But ultimately, it feels like Abs are able to read everything on the map so well, and now might be looking for something mid on the Hong Kong player.
Yeah, trying to find that's a Toad here. Actually will get the trade, but is stunned as well. It is going to be Apsar trying to find the finish of the kill, but
Here's
a
the
nice
engage.
re-engage from Pika Pika, and this time
Crow's in
it will be
trouble.
a proper 2v3. Does find Crow the kill going over to Goach. Another one will be donated as well. A double kill turned over to Kaisa. A great engage in this bot lane, using their numbers advantage. Goach now 3 and a 2 on the map. Apsar once again trying to find Hong Kong player, but a nice charm will disengage for the moment. Be no flash available on Wukong will mean no kill to be found. Garvin maybe actually looking for a wraparound in the mid lane as well, just running around there,
Oh,
bush trapping
Garvin.
a little bit onto Apsar, is going to get it, but here comes the ASO flying on in, but Garvin too fast on the Hecarim, just runs out across the mid lane, gets out of dodge.
Yeah, but a couple of plays going the way of Asian Invasion here. It does mean that the Dragon is going to be started up from Chaotic Solar when they saw Garvin go into the top side quadrant. But yeah, I mean, like you mentioned, I mean, a couple of kills into Gotch's Roach's pocket, Goach's, whoever that is. I mean, they have a shutdown now themselves, 200 extra gold if you take down that Kaisa. And really got to give credit to this team, still finding some picks and still finding some openings, but you got to be careful. It's got to be tempered. And
Yeah,
ultimately,
Garvin
that first Dragon kill
almost
was set.
tanking another tower shot there in the mid lane would have gone down as a result. Now, all of the members collapsing in around the mid lane to offer support. Still, that bot lane play was huge and
Yeah,
getting them back into the game. It was like a 3k gold lead at 7 minutes, which has now been reduced to just 800. So, absolutely a big turn to keep them in the game. Game 4, hopes still alive for Asian Invasion.
absolutely. And now we have to see how that translates into these objectives. Wilshire Garvin does have the Unstoppable Onslaught available. Not Unstoppable Onslaught. What is that? The Onslaught of Shadows. One of those onslaughts. But you can't really stop it very well either. Pika Pika is going to spot out some vision here, but Rizwan flipping him back. Hong Kong player in trouble.
Yeah, Hong Kong player getting taken down to
Oh,
half
Wilshire
HP
Garvin
right
wants
off the
it.
bat. Wow, Garvin does want the contest. There's the level 6, gets the fear onto
Oh!
Natsatoad, and a huge unstoppable force coming out from Ohami there. Rizwan is going to go
Oh
down. Triple kill for the
my.
Ari. Another one going over to Wilshire Garvin. They found the team fight. They were able to capitalize off that Rift Herald play, getting those massive multi-man ultimates, going in with confidence. Garvin was so low. I think the members of Chaotic Invasion were not expecting the contest there. I mean, Garvin was falling down to just about 20% HP, but able to heal up with that Hecarim W, with the red buff, and able to just find the team fight engage, follow up with their top laner. So well played.
Yeah, and all of a sudden, this disastrous early game for Asian Invasion results now in a 2,500 gold lead for them, Potato. Like, this has been like a 5,000 gold swing within 5 minutes in the first 11 minutes of this fourth game. An amazing play there. This is the ease of execution with the ultimates I just mentioned. You saw Ohami get a massive 3-man knockup with the Unstoppable Force. You saw the onslaught of shadows able to get another few fears. And once again, Asian Invasion not giving up hope and some big kills into their pockets, some gold secured by them, and they are anything but out of this fourth game.
Oh yeah, absolutely. How to turn around a 5,000 gold advantage in 3 minutes. Sounds like you
Yeah.
could write a self-help book about that one.
That were some
But
clickbait YouTube videos here. I don't know. This felt like some insane playmaking here.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm ready to click on that video. I'm not gonna lie. We might start seeing the Asian Invasion YouTube channel come out if these kinds of plays keep on going. But for now, it is going to be another moment of calm. Still, some amount of time before more objectives start coming up on the map. Ohami picking up another demolish proc, actually doing pretty good work on this top lane tower here. 3 plays remaining on each side. Hong Kong player trying to find a charm on that's Toad, but not quite hitting.
And now Pika Pika's down here. They might be looking for something. Goach isn't going to be caught quite yet. Onslaught of Shadows on Hecarim now available and hiding in the bush dragon in less than 2 minutes. This team is so reliant on ultimates. If they don't have ultimates available, it's so hard to fight. But they have them and they want to go.
Yeah, but Aso is here ready to roam as well. A nice Feather Storm and a nice Braum knockup is going to interrupt the Kaisa dash, and a flash away from Crow is going to keep them alive, and Gold is going to get burned down. There's the stun coming out from Pika Pika, and there is the team fighter. Both teams just repeatedly showing that they can turn around fights, turn around situations. It was Chaotic Solar with the advantage, and then it was Asian Invasion, and now it's Chaotic Solar right back at it again. Still a 500 gold lead for Asian Invasion after all that is over, but a nice fight, a nice 3 pickups in that bot lane to turn things around once again.
Absolutely. They thought they had the ultimates and had the gold to be able to justify the engage. But ultimately, like you mentioned, that's a Toad roam down and was able to find those kills once again. It is now 6 deaths in the bot lane for Asian Invasion and 3 for Wolshu Garvin, too. I mean, this dragon in 45 seconds is going to be so close. Rizwan going all out, wants to get the 1v1.
Yeah, forcing the Malphite ultimate away. That is a lot of consistent damage coming out from Cassante, going back to the top lane bullying ways. Malphite might have that strong team fight presence, but in the 1v1, Cassante is still definitely finding the wins. And Dragon is coming up in 23. The Malphite ultimate is not going to be available on that short of a time frame. Still needs time, over a minute, for that one to come back up. So this might be a more difficult dragon contest than it
Yeah.
would be otherwise.
Yeah, and Goach is sitting on 40 seconds on their ultimate too. And like, I mean, we're gonna keep looking at these ultimate timers every time there's some kind of team fight, Potato, because Asian Invasion is so ultimate reliant here. And there's still other ways to fight out from the other squad. But Pika Pika in trouble does have their solar flare available, does not commit it, but Absar is spotted. Without Ohami able to make it down here and not having their own ultimate, the 4v4 can be really challenging. Black Cleaver completed for Hecarim,
Yeah,
but
but
here's
that's
the
a
engage.
Toad
Oh,
once again coming in through, burning the flash from Pika Pika. Crucially, the ultimate not expended from a soul, and this is the evolved ultimate. This is the one
yes.
that will crash down across the entire quarter of the map on
Oh,
your
but
team.
there's the
But a
pick.
crucial charm coming in from Hong Kong player.
There's
That's
the
a Toad
ultimate.
with the ultimate, and there's the damage. The Cyclone will almost pick up Garvin, does do so. Ghosh finds the damage onto Absar. It's a 2-for-1 trade there off the back of a crucial charm from Hong Kong player.
Yeah, the skies descended, but that's a Toad still fell. That was an amazing ward to pick up that play. Like you mentioned, the charm from Hong Kong player secured the kill, and they won't be able to get the dragon from it, but the mid lane tower falls. Now Goach in trouble, teleport to the tower, the unstoppable force is available.
Yeah,
They
and
get
this time
Crow.
around, it is C9 Crow getting collapsed on. almost getting the pole kill back onto Pika Pika, but unable to do so. The teleport comes in well for the Malphite. Cassante did not quite have that cooldown up in time. So that's going to be another pick going down. Now, this is going to be the dragon going down proper. Top lane tower going to be the trade found in response, and a few top lane camps denied, but you'll still take that if you're Asian Invasion.
Absolutely. Yeah. Want to name that Ohami was completely fine to leave that top tower to support the team. The carry on this squad is Goach. So when they look to dive Goach, Ohami says, all right, take my top tower. And now look at Hong Kong player able to rotate to the top to catch this wave. But that's a Toad, crucially, already set up in the top side with Absar to try to deny the rotation up there. Absar able to take the red buff. Moshu Garvin not able to link up with Hong Kong player. So a great map movement out of the teleport from Ohami, but properly answered from Chaotic Solar. It allowed them to secure topside vision, get the Herald look now, and it feels like across the map you don't get anything for free in this level.
No, you don't. Both of these teams are really good at covering their bases, covering the plays, getting around objectives, and trying to set up around their win conditions. We do have 5 members of Chaotic Solar already on the objective. This Herald is going to start going down pretty fast. Worcester Garvin is pathing down bot here, so they might just be looking to give this one up. It is second Herald, less impactful than the first one.
Yeah, but I mean, like we just mentioned, with that top side pressure from Chaotic Solar, it feels like Wilshire Garvin knows that there's nothing up there for them to farm, and you can't really just face check these bushes because you know that Absar and Toad are up there. So instead, he's forced a path down, and because they gave up the dragon, they were able to rotate the other members up here. And like you mentioned, 5 players now, all right here in this top quadrant, nearly all on our screen at this point as well. And so an amazing play. You're right about the second herald being less impactful, but because they said, hey guys, we cannot take this dragon fight right now, they did a great map movement up to the top side for this Rift Herald look instead. So there's a pause because of some support internet looks like for That's a Toad. Nostalgia Lee mentioning that they might not have some great internet right now. But yeah, I mean, great to see some of these map movements coming out. The towers look like it is 1 tower a piece. It is the mid lane tower for the side of Asian Invasion. However, their top lane tower has fallen to Chaotic Solar. So this is going to be a big herald to try to crack another one of those towers. But with 1 dragon apiece, the team fights are still going to be continuing around these major objectives.
Yeah, and this time around, we're not getting a rush to the Dragon Soul like we did
No.
in the previous games. Splitting 1-to-1 eases a lot of pressure for both teams to scale. And speaking of scaling, if that's for me, I'm very happy to see that as the ASO player here.
Oh, yeah.
Because definitely want the robot to start getting stacking, want the Seraphs. You're gonna eventually turn into not just a huge DPS threat, but also just a champion that's very hard to blow through and take down. But looking on the other side too, we see the Ari build here, very aggressive, going for a death cap second. That's not something you typically see on that champion.
But also take a look at that Dark Seal number there, Potato. Already a maxed out Dark Seal. Do you think we're going to see some pages in a Magi's book this game?
Uh, I feel like that would be extremely ambitious, but if Hong Kong players feeling himself, who can say? I leave the possibility open.
Yeah. Yeah, but you're right about some of the scaling threat. I mean, and you're right. If I'm the ASOL player, I am happy to scale. We already see 5 stacks of the Roa completed. And we'll have to be keeping an eye on how many of these stars there will be available. Because with 75 Stardust, that's when you get the Skies Descend. But each of that Stardust actually creates more damage and raises up the execution threshold of that ability too for ASOL's Q, I believe. So I mean, as we will look through this game, it's not a Vigar who had a 0% win rate in this series, but the Aurelion Soul, again, a scaling mage that's going to get the health, get the resources, and get a level of execution power. So here we are back into this game. The Herald is up. Wilshire Garvin on the wrong side of the map. Yes, the Herald or the Blast Cone spots the Herald, but there is going to be no play from I hope not from Asian Invasion. They do not want to be here at all.
Pika Pika looking a little far forward here.
Yeah.
Nostalgia Lee has got his eyes on this Leona. This
And
Herald
look at
is going to
Ohami.
be imminently smited away. Yeah, Ohami nowhere close to offer the support of that Malphite ultimate. Things could turn bad real quick here. Okay, the Braum Q does miss. They pick up the Herald. No team fight to be had. Both sides just peacefully run away from each other.
Good to get this mid lane priority now, and it allows this movement up to the top side for that outer tower. You notice Pika Pika playing super aggressive and might have found the pick.
Yeah, Absar getting CC'd up there. The Kaisa W does land, and there comes the CC chain. There's the Kaisa passive killing spree over for Goch. That's a Toad dueling Ohami there. Ohami flashing away from the
It's cooldown
Sky's Descent
soon.
there. Ohami getting burned
Oh!
down, though, and that is the max HP damage we're talking about. That's a Toad barely surviving there. The enhanced Q passive offering so much value. A 4-man blast cone to get out of
Oh!
dodge. Ooh, a Kaisa Void Seeker there. Almost finding it. That's a Toad actually canceling their own dash, dashing straight into the wall. They're forced now to burn the flash. A counter flash from Hong Kong player does find another pickup, and now Rizwan is the one going to get aggressed on, dominating now from Hong Kong player as 3 members push on this top lane.
Yeah, great tower and great rotation out of Asian Invasion. They got the move through the jungle. They picked out Absar, and Absar griefed it by using the clone so early. The Warrior Trickster was used taking the Gromp, and so had to flash out and then got collapsed on before they got the cooldown on it. So because of that, and then that's a Toad misplaying as well, Asian Invasion got the top tower, got the 2 kills, and are able to get this gold lead now to 2,500. Yes, they lost the Herald, so we'll see what that can pick up. But Asian Invasion has come back from a devastating early game to now an advantage at 18 minutes into this game. It's amazing to see this come back.
Yeah, and Hong Kong player now with the finished death cap. This is
Yeah.
a very threatening Ari. Does have the flash burned now, so we'll be missing that cooldown for the next few minutes, but should have it nearly up for the next Dragon contest.
And it is down for Toad as well, right? So there's something to be said for that, because both flashes were used from the mid laners. That is at least a parity there. Minus that, if you look at some of these other flashes, Goch will have their teleport or their flash for sure available. Crows has been up for a while, but look at this vision now getting pushed into bot side. They want to get this last standing outer tower and are overloading members down onto Rizwan.
Yep, great movement here. 3 members going here onto the Cassante. Earlier, it was Garvin trying to solo dive the Cassante. That doesn't work out.
No.
But with 4 people, yeah, I think that's enough pressure to make it work. It is Xayah trying to trade back onto the mid lane tier 1, but with so much vision control with the members
Oh, but
moving
now might
across
be a
the map.
collapse.
Yep, we do see
No.
Ohami also trying to find their way, but Xayah's fast enough is going to get their way out of there.
But that was really smart on Goch to not commit to taking the bot outer tower and knew that they could just leave and just let Garvin and I think that was Pika Pika just smack the tower to death. So good spot there. But now Ohami does have an unstoppable force. Might need to use it to get out of dodge.
Yeah, does in fact ult across the wall, takes the enhanced blast cone to live, but you can see this is the damage that ASOL is capable of. Malphite is supposed to be a tank, almost got burned 100-0 over the course of a single WQ ASOL combo, and things are only going to get stronger for this fire-breathing dragon.
Yeah, 239 Stardust, which is giving us 7.9% max health magic damage execute.
Yeah, and this Q burn is proccing like once every second or so. And also crucially, this Stardust is going to make the the drag in pull larger and larger over the course of the game. And for a full engaged team comp like what Asian Invasion are running, that could provide a lot of trouble. I mean, you imagine yourself as a Kaisa trying to dash in, as a RA trying to navigate a team fight, and when there's a huge star covering half lane or so, it's going to be a lot more difficult to make that happen.
And it makes the team fight so challenging because the Sky's Ascent is available. And I would say at 8%, it's actually 11.2% max health, dying instantly in the middle of the Singularity. They're looking for a 5v5 team fight, though. Look at the flank.
Teleport on the back from Ohami. The Sky's Descent, huge hitting forward there. But Apps are absolutely getting stunned, comboed, taken down.
No ultimate.
Now,
no
ultimate available. Still a second or so from coming up. Hong Kong player almost getting stunned up, not quite doing so. The Garvin is going to be taken over the wall by Cassante, almost soloed out. Crow takes down Pika Pika in the meantime. One stack left on Hong Kong player. Goach now getting burned out as well from That's a Toad, and that's going to be the chase onto Hong Kong player. The enhanced Blast Cone, no, the Charm actually interrupting things. Now the Blast Cone is going to take them to safety. Another explosive team fight, but it is 4 members going down for Asian Invasion. The Brom Q tag is good. Another great Charm coming out for the disengage, as Ari is certainly proving to be very slippery, does run away from their life, but it is the team fight win. It is the Dragon picked up for Chaotic Solar.
Oh, Hemi had an amazing teleport, but didn't have the ultimate. I thought this was going to be such a big fight, but this big old rock teleports into the fight and just stands there. Potato did nothing. And because the Onslaught of Shadows was used defensively from Hecarim, all their gauge tool was gone. That is the go button. That means we are fighting, but they were not up. And for a team that is so dependent on these ultimate cooldowns, when they did not have them, they did not win the fight. And the gold lead rapidly closing. The second dragon now is going to be Chaotic Solars. Baron on the map as well. And you got to be more coordinated with those team fight ultimates if you are Asian Invasion.
Yeah, it was a bit of a split situation there. We had the giant Skies Ascend, but yeah, Hong Kong player now dashing forward. The Charm's not going to hit. The Blast Cone is going to disengage. The
teleport interrupted
was invested, but was not able to come through. Now Rizwan once again in a 1v1 against Ohami. There is once again no Malphite ultimate available, and we saw Rizwan repeatedly winning these 1v1s.
Yeah, I think he does.
Meanwhile, 4 members looking onto the Baron here. Hong Kong player actually going back to base. Does have the teleport available. Wusher Garmin rushing in, but the Baron is still down spite range. Does get the Baron steal. Takes down the Baron at the cost of his own life. Now Pika Pika is going to be the next one, going to be traded off. Does get taken down as well. Rizwan wins the 1v1 in the side lane. Ghost trying to survive, trying to get the base off, will be able to do so. So a huge Baron steal coming out from Garmin, committing, having confidence in his smite ability. Is going to lose a few members and a few towers in response, but that Baron denial was crucial.
That was absolutely pivotal to the success of Asian Invasion. It denies the opportunity for the other team to get it. And Hong Kong player, the solo bolo, stopping the overstay of Rizwan in the bot lane.
Absolutely. Now 7-0 on the RA. Maybe that Medjai's would have looked like a good investment now in retrospect, but you know, who would have been to say? But yeah, now Baron still available on a few members. We'll see if they can get any kind of push going. It seems like it might be a little bit difficult. Most of the wave control still belonging to Chaotic Solar here for the moment.
Yeah, so now we have to see what this dragon setup looks like, or if they can get a pick ahead of time. It is going to be Ari's ultimate Spirit Rush not available. That's a Toad. Ooh, barely escapes Pika Pika, missing the crucial abilities to get the crowd control down. That's one of the ultimates that now they will not have for this fight. Onslaught of Shadows is up. Ohami has their unstoppable force if they can find it. But without the Solar Flare, it's going to be a little bit harder to siege now. And take a look at That's a Toad. 308 Stardust. Oh, trying to engage now onto Garvin.
Yeah, ulting out onto Garvin, but Garvin has their own ult in response, so that's not going to be a successful find. But yeah, the ASO so successful at holding against these Baron waves. I played against this myself recently, and it felt quite impossible to try and get these waves shoved in. You just drop your E down in the lane, it evaporates all the minions, it buys so much space. It does look like now they want to go into a Charm catching out onto Absar. Garvin getting burned out a little bit on the front line, still holding for the moment, but the tower getting very low. There's that first tower falling down. 2 members going back to heal up. 5 still here, trying to push around the mid lane, around the top lane, trying to get as much value out of this Baron as they can.
Yeah, Singularity execute now up to 13.3% damage. That is insane execute level. But now the team is a little bit split. That's a Toad going forward. Can they get onto him?
Flying in Ohami with a nice ultimate to find That's a Toad. That's a Toad is CC locked, is shut down by the Ahri. The Cyclone is big, but Absar is losing their HPC9 Crow falls down as well. And there goes Nostalgia Lee. And finally, Rizwan, the last member surviving gets out with their life, but that's not gonna matter. Asian Invasion don't care about that. They find the team fight win. That's a Toad wanted to look for the engage, but was just CC'd until they died. 4 members pushing up on this top lane does get the top lane tower, does get the inhibitor as well. 17 seconds until some of the members spawn, so they might not have enough to end here. Will
But
they
look at the
look
dragon
for
timer.
the push? They wanted it almost, but no, instead going to reset, maybe look for the Kim Tech instead.
Yeah, they have to get to the dragon right away. As you mentioned, the respawns are coming up right now. That's a Toad went a little bit too far on that play. We'll have to see if Chaotic Solar can get to this dragon first, because with the resets coming out and the big buys coming through, 3 items now completed for Goach. It's another 3 items for Hong Kong player as well. There is some massive power spikes now for Asian Invasion. All these ults are not quite up yet, but will be very shortly. Once we see the unstoppable force, that is the cue to be able to go. Another 5v5. They might just be giving over this dragon if you're Chaotic Solar, because that 5v5 team fight was terrifying.
Yeah, it looks way too difficult here. You don't have the enhanced ASO ulti. You don't have the members in position. And it's only a second dragon, so it makes a lot of sense to give this one over. And yeah, Toad will have to be a little bit less ambitious in the upcoming team fights. The W slide and glide is a tool for damage, but it's also your only survival ability outside of Flash. They wanted to glide over, wanted to get the shutdown onto Gulch there, but ease of execution, press R from Ohami, and the rest of it just follows for free.
And Ohami did a really good job there. I felt like being able to hold off until the other members were in range and were close enough to be able to follow up on that primary engage. And we saw once the knockup, it was into the onslaught of shadows, which caused the fear, and all the members piled on top of Toad. And without Azonios, without any kind of way to survive, that player fell so quickly here.
Yeah, fall they did. And that's a threat, right? The CC combo from Malphite and Hecarim for any of these carries is absolutely lethal. And Apsar tried their best to kind of counter engage, found a lot of people with the Cyclone, but as a lone Wukong there in the backline, you're not going to be doing that much into all this protection and all this beef that exists for Asian Invasion.
Yeah, so take a look at the setup now. Because Asian Invasion has the better 5v5 team fighting abilities, they're able to just siphon out this vision, hold control with the wards here, with 18 seconds until the Baron and so much of that area dark for Chaotic Solar. They have to just respect these waves getting pushed into them, which makes it so challenging to contest a Baron. Look, the pings are already going down from Asian Invasion onto the Baron, and the only thing that Chaotic Solar can do is face check. They have one blue orb available on Cassante, another one on Crow, but the Baron is already started and Chaotic Solar is nowhere to be found.
Yeah, all the entrances warded. The control ward also dropped down to ensure that any kind of approach is going to be perfectly spotted out. Ohami moving towards this top side as well is going to mean that no approach into Baron is possible.
And take a look at that inventory from Hong Kong player there, Potato.
Oh.
They have done it onto the Magi's now. The Baron buff pushing in with the top lane inhibitor there. They have all 5 members and are looking for the 5v5 team fight to close out this game and take us to game 5.
And that is their specialty. Hong Kong player goes in first, dashes, but does not get punished. And now Garvin is there in the backline, absolutely getting melted. Ohami finds a nice ultimate, but the rest of the team is not there to follow up, unlike last time. The ASO is huge, coming in with the ultimate, burning down Goach. Goach wants to find the ASO, but no, dashes into their own death, and now Hong Kong player is going to get burned down. The dragon resets are coming through. That's a Toad is burning through the team. Ohami now going to be the next one in their sights. A disaster of a team fight. This time it is Asian Invasion falling down. The ultimates were not synced. Garvin went in too early. Ohami didn't have the support of their team. Hong Kong player committed their ult straight off the bat, didn't find the charm catch, and you know that Magi's that they just bought?
Yeah, it's gone. Nope. I don't know what you're talking about, Potato. They never had one. There was never a Magi. Yeah, and ultimately that went so poorly because it was not on the Aurelion Soul. A Soul was the damage dealer in that team fight that absolutely shredded through Asian Invasion. But the team fight was too forced, too fast, too furious. and it resulted in all 5 members losing their Baron buff too. And as you mentioned, it was the all 10 pages of that book are now gone as well, and it's out of the inventory. So yeah, not only do you lose the Baron, but you lose all of that extra AP now as well. So I mean, if you are Asian Invasion, you have to know that your focus is on That's a Toad and only That's a Toad, because Aurelion Sol has been wiping these fights with their damage.
Yeah, but also if they play it properly, it's so hard to get onto this ASO. I mean, this is a champion with an incredible amount of health. Now the stopwatch coming out as well. Braum is there to offer warden support. Cassante can ult someone away. So as long as you're not getting caught by the Malphite ultimate and letting the CC chain get started that way, it seems like it can be a hard engage. But now, once again, establishing some vision on this bottom quadrant, trying to set up for the dragon.
Yeah, it's 25 seconds until the dragon spawns here, and 4 items completed in these ADC's inventories. It is going to be Goach coming into this fight with an item advantage. 3 items now completed for Garvin as well. These fights are so close, and there's not a lot of defensive resources available. We've seen in previous games with the Guardian Angels and with Zonias, but not in this game at all. Ohami might be in trouble.
Yeah, Ohami getting caught out in the side lane here, getting burned down, and this is the strategy. It's
Look
like
at
where
Toad.
you go to a Shin, and yeah, Toad is alive, the CC chain hits, but again, not onto Toad, there's the breath, just breathing over everybody. Riz is there in the front line, taking down Hong Kong player, the last one alive, 1 dash available, but Toad's got the faster dash, puts down the star, puts down the burn. That's an ace for the side of Chaos, Solar Chaos. I can't even remember anymore. This game's been going too crazy.
Man.
But yeah, they find the team fight win. 5 people going down. Only Rizwan falling in response. And yeah, that's a clean one.
That was an amazing team fight win. Once again, Toad held the space, did the damage, and Singularity was shredding through all of those members here. It is now up to Chaotic Solar to use this advantage, use the momentum to close out this game, close out the series, and claim the Grand Finals championship for the Shurima division, because they do not want to go into a game number 5. And Asian Invasion is trying to hold on at this point to get those key item spikes to win the game. But a 5v5 team fighting composition like that doesn't work when you're getting caught out.
Yeah, and I love the strategy there on that last fight. I mean, they identified the Malphite is such a crucial element for the team fighting. Sure, they might be behind individually, but that ultimate offering so much value, that is the pick tool to get things started. So what do? You go to them. You know you have enough damage from the ASO to just burn them down. It's like when Shin ultimate provides a problem, go to the Shin, take him out, then the fight is a lot easier. In this case, they just eliminated the Malphite right off the bat, and once Ohami was down, the fight was just not possible.
It was so much easier too, as you were saying. Yeah, once that one player died, that 5v4 was so hard winning. A minute until the Baron and teams are trying to set up for it. Pika Pika now in the front line. Here comes the teleport.
Yeah, getting
they need to get on this Toad.
Also coming in from Ohami. Garvin is there in the backline trying to cause disruption, but caught in a 1v4. There's no chance of survival. Absol is going to get traded, and Toad is flying on in.
Oh, they got Toad
from Hong Kong player, and there is the ultimate turn. Can't they find it? Toad goes into Zonias now, and now Rizwan is there all out. A shutdown going onto Ace. So Hong Kong player has it for the moment, but still 3 members available. Flash from Rizwan wanting to find the CC chain, but another good charm locks them down, and now Hong Kong player forced to flash away, forced to run for their life. Still survives for a moment, but it is a 1v3 trying to hold on to what they can for the base.
That was so close, and ultimately Toad did fall, but the threats were there. Rizwan pulled Goach out of that fight and was able to do Cassante things all over that Kaisa, because that was not the only threat. Yes, you killed Toad. Yes, you even were able to, kill the Wukong as well, but you still got other threats here, and Crow survived. Rizwan survived. And unless you're getting all 5 in a big stack, you're not going to be able to win this fight, or maybe even the series. So the Baron is alive. It is 2 minutes until the next dragon. It would be Chaotic Solar's Soul. But now with the Baron alive and these key items completed, the inventories are filling up. And all it takes is one team fight either way to end this game.
Yeah, even in death, That's a Toad provides presence, allowing so much space and freedom for the rest of their team. And now it is going to be Chaotic Solar with the control over the Baron area. These stars from Asol. Look at that zoning pressure. That's just
Yeah.
the entirety of the Baron entrance taken off as an option.
The Sky's Descend is also available, and we also see that the ultimate or the Singularity 18.8% max health execution now, nearly 19%. There's the Elder Dragon already, right? Like
Yeah.
that is a Elder Dragon by itself. That is why everyone is so scared of this scaling Aurelion Soul pick, and has showed up huge in this fourth game. We'll have to see if they can find the fight now, because this it might be Asian Invasion's last chance.
Yeah, Baron is started out briefly, but they want the fight instead. Rizwan trading onto Ohami a little bit. Absar goes onto the backline. The Braum ultimate gets committed, but the big resources are not used yet. Featherstorm used now. Pika Pika getting low. Garvin
Coach,
trying to survive with Hawkon player, but
that's
there is
it.
the dragon gliding. Yup, that's all they needed. 3 members of Asian Invasion hit the dirt, make that 4. A triple kill coming out for That's a Toad. And now Flash from Braum to try and interrupt the base from Ohami. There's no hope left. They're going to run down into the base, close it out. It's a 3-1 series win for Chaotic Solar. They fell to Asian Invasion in the semifinals, but in the finals, in the game that matters, they say we've got what it takes. Despite the crushing game 1, they find the victory.
And they find the grand finals championship. This is Chaotic Solar taking down Asian Invasion, making the run through the losers bracket just to make it back. And now they have taken the series 3-1. Chaotic Solar with an amazing performance.
Yeah, absolutely. Really great team play all around, turning around the disastrous game 1, the hard start to game 2, and even in this game 4, we saw so much back and forth from both of these teams. One, then the other finding advantages all across, but ultimately, Mr. Toad showed up on this ASOL, absolutely taking over the late game like this champion is designed to do and taking the victory home as well.
Yeah, an amazing set of games here from Chaotic Solar. Well earned, well deserved. And I mean, that's a Toad really showing up on this Aurelion Soul. The Grand Master mid laner for Chaotic Solar brought this championship home to the Chaotic Esports squad.
Yeah, and well played from the members of Asian Invasion as well. Very well contested series and really entertaining games. A lot of great carry performances we saw from the likes of Hong Kong player and Goch and the rest of the team. I mean, Garvin absolutely taking over the game on various occasions as well. So applause to them too.
Absolutely. It is always so hard to come back into a finals against a team you've already competed against and still put your best foot forward. And I think ultimately Asian Invasions did what they could today. But I think Chaotic Solar with the game 2 double flex with the win and Malphite picks on R4, R5, and then just found some creative angles with Emilio pick in game number 3. And then the Aurelion Soul. I think the drafting really just got to give credit to Chaotic Esports coaching crew, the players for pulling out some of those picks here in a grand finals match, and a well-deserved championship to them in our Shurima division.
Yeah, without a doubt. And it was such a pleasure to watch. Thank you all for joining us today. I hope y'all had as much fun as we did. For us at least, it was a hell of a series to see.
Absolutely, it was. And I mean, just to come back and join the top division and watch Asian Invasion Chaotic Solar here was just such a gift. Once again, congratulations here to Chaotic Solar for taking home the Shurima Cup here in the Style Esports Season 14 Grand Finals. Congratulations to Asian Invasion for finishing second place as well. And third place as well, Clemson Orange. Congratulations for them. We didn't watch their match here tonight, but way to go in closing out the Shurima Cup in the Shurima division here of Style. But for myself, Llama, and for All Out Potato. That is going to do it for us this evening. Thank you for joining us for the grand finals here between these two teams. And we will see y'all on the next cast.
Take care.